Chapter 369. If that's the case, then forget it. It's just a pity. Upon hearing that, Ning Tian pretended to be regretful and could only wave his hand. However, the corners of his mouth unconsciously curled into a smile. Fight with Di Wuji? What kind of joke was that? Without the small card, there was still a gap between him and Di Wuji. After all, he had only cultivated for a year. What about Di Wuji? It had been at least a few thousand years. There was a gap, that was for sure. Now that Di Wuji had taken the initiative to give up, it would not seem like he was a coward. It was killing two birds with one stone. After all, he had once used his best acting skills to scare away a demon god from the demon clan. Ning Tian was certain that Di Wuji would be unyielding as a powerhouse. Upon hearing Ning Tian's words, Di Wuji frowned slightly. According to what Ning Buxu said, even if his body was weak, he was not inferior to him. Di Wuji? Hiss! At this moment, Di Wuji looked at Ning Tian with an even more serious gaze. This was definitely a powerhouse who could fight with him. At this moment, Di Wuji completely regarded Ning Tian as a super powerhouse. His desire to win was even stronger. However, if he knew that Ning Tian, whom he regarded as a powerhouse who could fight with him, was only a one-star god emperor, how would he feel? Sigh. It's such a pity. I still want to see a real man's one-on-one battle. Sigh. Let's go. If we don't leave, I'm afraid Ning Buxu will rob us. Since there was no longer a great battle, the cultivators in the vicinity all left, returning to their own homes and looking for their mothers. The Chaos Grand Meet came to an end in an extremely strange manner. However, this time's event was the most shocking and the most exciting one so far. No one expected it. First, the ancestral master robbed 1,000,000 cultivators. Then, there was the violent beating of the divine son of 10,000 swords. Then, there was the annihilation of a sect with one palm strike and the defeat of a heaven god's shadow with one move. These were enough to be passed down through the ages. All right, we'll meet again if fate wills it. Ning Tian glanced at Di Wuji and Wang Tian, old ancestor, who had a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. He spoke casually and was about to leave. Fellow Taoist Ning, if fate wills it, we will meet again. When the time comes, we must decide the victor. Di Wuji waved at Ning Tian before stepping into the void and disappearing. Seeing this, Ning Tian turned around and was about to leave. However, at this moment, the old ancestor of Wang Tian called out to him, Fellow Taoist Ning, please wait. Ning Tian paused and glanced at the old man who was still vomiting blood. He frowned and said, Mr. Vomiting Blood, why are you looking for me? Old ancestor Wang Tian froze for a moment. He wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth and coughed dryly. This old man is old ancestor Wang Tian of Heavencraft Pavilion. Fellow Taoist Ning can just call me fellow Taoist Wang Tian. Okay, Mr. Vomiting Blood, Ning Tian replied. Sky-gazing old ancestor. Cough, cough. Forget it. Fellow Taoist Ning can call me whatever you want, as long as you are happy. He waved his hand. Okay, old man Wang Tian. The corner of old ancestor Wang Tian's mouth twitched, and he shook his head helplessly. It's like this. 3 days later, my pavilion master wants to invite fellow Taoist Ning to a gathering at the Heaven and Earth Inn in the Chaos Emperor City. I wonder if fellow Taoist Ning has, however, before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Ning Tian. I'm not free. Ning Tian waved his hand. Old ancestor Wang Tian touched his nose and smiled bitterly. If fellow Taoist Ning is not free, then it's fine. My pavilion master just wants to catch up with fellow Taoist and talk about the things in Dongxing country. He also said that fellow Taoist Ning's story is indeed the best story since ancient times. Dongxing country? Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. The figure of a young man flashed across his mind. He seemed to have thought of something and frowned. He looked at old ancestor Wang Tian. Is your pavilion master called Chengejiang? That's right. Old ancestor Wang Tian smiled and stroked his beard. Okay, let me arrange it. When I'm free, I'll come. Ning Tian's expression did not change much. After saying that casually, He turned around and flew toward Nihongi and the others. Seeing this, old ancestor Wang Tian could not help but smile bitterly. Countless top experts were willing to pay any price just to see the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion and ask him to do a divination. However, the young man in front of him who turned around and left without hesitation did not take it to heart at all. I really don't know what kind of person he is. Old ancestor Wang Tian shook his head and sighed slightly. Very soon, the group returned to Chaos Emperor City. According to the schedule, Enai Hongi and the others were not in a hurry to return to the ethereal sect, so they simply stayed in Chaos Emperor City for the next few days. In Chaos Emperor City, it was also incomparably lively. The story of the patriarch had been spreading. In the room of the Blue Sky Inn. Phew, these million cultivators are really poor. These treasures, it seems that not many of them can be used. Also, what the hell is this pile of pig feet? However, there are a few useful immortal medicines. Ning Tian withdrew from the storage ring. Although there were mountains of treasures in the storage ring, there were very few that could be used at the moment. It seemed that, the next time he gathered treasures, he would choose some rich people. Ning Tian murmured. Then, he took out a few medicinal herbs from the storage ring, condensed a furnace of wind and thunder, and began to refine pills. The pills he wanted to refine, together with the ones he refined last time and the blood essence of the heavenly sacred pond, were enough to let him break through again. Whoosh! Soon, the pill fire burned. In the furnace, the flames were boiling and waves of medicinal fragrance wafted out. In less than half an hour, a round pill fell into Ning Tian's hand. With a wave of his hand, the furnace transformed by wind and thunder instantly dissipated. Waves of medicinal fragrance wafted in the room, making one feel refreshed. Phew! Finally, the refinement was successful. Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief and took out the pills that he refined previously and the blood essence of the heavenly sacred pond in the small jade bottle. Next, it was to consume it. The blood essence entered his body and the two pills suppressed it. Success or failure depends on this move. There was a murmur in the room. As time passed, there was a trace of scorching temperature in the room. It was faintly circulating, and there was something wrong with the aura. Oh no. Damn. That bastard mixed the spiritual herbs with the aphrodisiac and contaminated the original spiritual herbs with this aura? Are you kidding me? Ning Tian suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were crimson red, and his gaze was burning. It was as if he had turned into a beast. But at this moment, there was no way to vent. Damn it, I'm in trouble because of the robbery. He scolded loudly. At this moment, he vaguely lost his mind. All he wanted was to vent and release. But at this moment, a bell-like chuckle sounded, like a gust of cool wind. A beautiful figure appeared out of thin air in the room. Her cold and delicate body plunged into the fiery embrace. Chapter 370. In the room, two figures were entangled. In his daze, Ning Tian saw a beautiful face. But at this moment, his consciousness was almost blurred, and he couldn't figure out who this woman was. His mind had long been damaged by the deceptive spiritual medicine, and he had lost his mind. In his mind, he only knew how to take. The ice-cold body in his arms was like an ice-cold antidote to the scorching heat, or perhaps the last straw to save his life. Once he grabbed her, he was unwilling to let go. Roar! Ning Tian's eyes were burning, and his pupils were full of red light. He let out a low roar from his throat and pressed the body in his arms under his body. Haha, I really don't know what to do with you. She chuckled. Then, a white and tender hand slightly raised, and a rich spiritual energy formed a boundary that enveloped the entire room. A soft murmur followed, accompanied by a burst of bell-like laughter. There seemed to be a burst of music in the room. A few hours later, the endless taking seemed to have stopped. In the room, there was a decadent fragrance. Ning Tian closed his eyes and sat cross-legged. The heat in his body dissipated at this moment. Without the poison of the spring elixir, the blood in his body finally began to flow normally. He began to cultivate and break through. This time, with the blood from the divine pond, He wanted to try to break through to the peak of the initial level of the divine body. Boom. Inside his body, his chi and blood were surging. The waves of spiritual energy were like mountains and seas, constantly surging out. Hee, what kind of movement will the founder cause this time? At the bedside, the beautiful woman was naked, holding her smooth chin with her hand and looking curiously at Ning Tian, who was sitting cross-legged in front of her. At this moment, the endless aura in Ning Tian's body condensed, and vaguely, there was the momentum of a breakthrough. Although it was only a single drop of blood essence, the improvement it brought to him was far greater than that. Ning Tian already had a large amount of energy in his body, and this drop of blood essence was merely a catalyst for it. Boom. In his dantian, his several spiritual seas were constantly surging, as if there were stormy waves. Vaguely. Originally, there were only 3 spiritual seas in his dantian, but now, the 3 spiritual seas were showing signs of merging. The pinnacle of the small success stage of the heavenly God body meant having an endless spiritual sea. It was inexhaustible and inexhaustible, using one's own body as the spirit sea, self-sufficient. Boom. Aura. It was also at this moment that his strength continued to rise. Host's physique has begun to improve. Host's strength has also broken through. Current, 1-star God Emperor realm, trying to break through. The system's voice rang out in his mind. However, Ning Tian ignored him. Currently, the only thing he could maintain was his consciousness, a consciousness that was constantly breaking through. A series of explosions could be heard. Within his dantian, the 3 great spiritual seas finally began to merge together, and a terrifying spiritual energy was emitted from the churning spiritual seas. That was endless spirit sea. Host, breaking through on your own. Breaking through. 1-star God Emperor realm. 2 stars God Emperor realm. 3 stars God Emperor realm. Currently, he has broken through to 3 stars of the God Emperor realm. The celestial constitution is attempting to reach the pinnacle of lesser mastery. Boom. Rumble. At this moment, the sky above the Chaos Emperor city, which was originally bright, was suddenly filled with dark clouds. Streaks of lightning began to strike from the sky. Every single one of them. They were all extremely terrifying. Boom. Many cultivators in the Chaos Emperor city were so frightened that they hurriedly looked up at the sky. What was going on now? Why was it so chaotic recently? Rumble. In the sky, there were continuous roars that turned into the roar of a thunder dragon. Streaks of furious lightning struck toward the Chaos Emperor city. All of a sudden, countless houses were smashed into pieces and the ground cracked. However, no one dared to stop it. They could not see through this unknown lightning tribulation. Ah, damn. The flying pig that I just summoned was struck to death again. Somewhere in the Chaos Emperor city, Taoist priest Flying Pig looked at the flying pig that had been struck by the lightning tribulation. After cursing, tears flowed out of his mouth. Which Taoist is undergoing the tribulation here? At the same time, the entire primal Chaos Emperor city was troubled by the lightning tribulation. Initially, a group of experts wanted to stop it. However, when they saw an 8-star God Emperor being severely injured by the lightning tribulation, they instantly calmed down. As for those great emperors, they watched silently. They looked at the scene silently. They naturally knew that this lightning tribulation was no ordinary lightning tribulation. The lightning tribulation lasted for more than an hour. The area around the Sky Blue Inn was basically destroyed by the lightning tribulation. Only the Sky Blue Inn was still intact. The commotion caused by the lightning tribulation had already alarmed Hongi and the others. Sect Master, what happened? Elder Tian Feng ran out of the room with a lingering fear in his heart. He was still cultivating when he was awakened by the muffled thunder, and he could no longer enter the state of cultivation. I don't know. Hongi shook her head softly. Looking at the room where Ning Tian was, she suddenly frowned. Why did she feel that? The ancestral master's room was covered by a layer of spiritual energy barrier. Furthermore, she could not see through the spiritual energy barrier at all. This meant that the strength of the person who cast the spiritual energy barrier was far above her. Could it be caused by the ancestral master? Nai Hongi frowned slightly, and her expression was a little strange. At this moment, in the room, Ning Tian suddenly opened his eyes and the blood in his body surged. At the same time, the lightning tribulation in the sky surged in his direction. Rumble. In an instant, a huge hole was blasted in the ceiling of the sky blue inn. "Break it," he shouted in a low voice. The divine lightning entered his body and his aura surged. "Congratulations, host, for increasing your physique. Currently, Heaven God Physique. Peak small success. Current strength, 3-star God Emperor Realm." Along with the system's voice, Ning Tian's lips curled into a satisfied smile. However, just as he was about to stand up, there was a loud rumble and the entire sky blew and began to collapse. But before he could react, a voice rang out. Suddenly, a jade-like hand reached out and grabbed his hand, pulling him into the void. Rumble. At the same time, the sky blew and turned into a pile of ruins. It's collapsed? At the moment of the collapse, almost all the guests flashed at the same time. That was why they were not hit by the ruins. After all, if they could not react in time, they were not worthy of being a cultivator. What the F***CK? The owner of the Sky Blue Inn had just returned. Seeing the inn that he had operated for many years turn into ruins in the blink of an eye, he was dumbfounded and at a loss for a moment. "Are you all okay?" Inai Hongi looked at the few people beside her and asked. "We're fine." Moon Spirit and the other girls shook their heads slightly. They looked around and could not help but feel puzzled. Where's the ancestral master? They did not see Ning Tian around. At the same time in the void. Chapter 371. At this moment, in the void. Hee, ancestral master, long time no see. Did you miss me? Ning Tian was holding a beautiful body in his arms. Most importantly, it was naked. That familiar bell-like laughter rang in his ears. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment, and a hint of joy flashed in his eyes. "Queen Mother of the West, why are you here?" At this moment, images flashed in his mind, and he suddenly thought of something. "Just now, was that you?" Of course, it was me." The Queen Mother of the West raised her head, and her beautiful face was full of charm. She giggled and snuggled up to Ning Tian's chest. "As for why I came, of course, it's because I miss you." Wuqing actually wanted to come, but unfortunately, there are too many things to do in the Tianling region. She can't handle it. I've been a hands-off manager for many years. I want to help her, but I don't know where to start. The Queen Mother of the West was angry and helpless. "Wife," Ning Tian murmured, and a hint of gentleness flashed in his eyes. Luo Wuqing was in charge of the entire Tianling region alone, and it was obviously very difficult. "It seems that after the Tianling region stabilizes, I'll bring my wife over. The Tianling region is stable, and we won't be afraid of it for the time being." The Tianling region is only a starting point. He had already made a decision in his heart. The Tianling region was only a starting point, and the Great Emperor was not the end. If he wanted to protect his loved ones, this was far from enough. Only by constantly becoming stronger could he have the ability to protect his loved ones. This was something that Ning Tian would always remember in her heart. In his arms, the Queen Mother of the West raised her head slightly and looked at Ning Tian curiously. "Ancestral Master, along the way, I heard a lot of rumors about Ning Buxu in the Chaos Emperor city. I think this Ning Buxu should be you, right?"
Yes.
Ning Tian held the delicate body in his arms and nodded slightly. What exactly happened? The Queen Mother of the West was curious. Her beautiful eyes widened, and she subconsciously moved closer. That unique body fragrance made Ning Tian's mouth dry up. After all, the person in his arms was the person he loved. Moreover, it had been a long time since he had eaten meat, so he couldn't control himself. "Ancestor?" Shi Wangmu leaned over and breathed into Xiao Qin's ear. Then, she purposely spoke in a much gentler tone, adding a hint of temptation. Ning Tian's whole body trembled in an instant, and he glared fiercely at his little wife in his arms. This concubine, day after day, she only knew how to seduce him. Cough, cough. Ning Tian let out a dry cough. Then, his hands wandered around as if nothing had happened. In an instant, the Queen Mother in his arms blushed. At the same time, Ning Tian told her about the recent events. 10 minutes later, the two of them were breathing heavily. The Queen Mother of the West's face was rosy, and she looked very cute. After listening to Ning Tian's words, she couldn't help but giggle. Haha. Ancestor, the Void God Heavenly Palace has been screwed over by you. The Queen Mother of the West smiled. Her smile was so captivating and mesmerizing. Ning Tian couldn't help but stare at her in a daze. His concubine was so beautiful. Ancestor, what are you looking at? The Queen Mother of the West was being stared at by that pair of passionate eyes. Even she felt a little shy. Nothing. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up into a sinister smile. His large hand reached out and pulled his little wife closer to him. I just want to see if my little wife has gotten fatter. No way. No matter if it was a mortal or a cultivator. As long as it was a woman, she would definitely not be able to bear the word fat. Sure enough, the Queen Mother of the West pouted and snorted. Then, she proudly puffed out her chest and snorted. I'm not fat. I'm a 9 tribulations great emperor. How can I be fat? Indeed, there's meat where there should be meat. Ning Tian glanced at her and nodded with satisfaction. Then, the corners of his mouth curled into a mysterious smile. Actually, my name, Ning Buksu, has another meaning besides screwing over the Void God Heavenly Palace. Meaning? What meaning? This attracted the Queen Mother of the West's curiosity. Do you want to know? The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up. Yes. The Queen Mother of the West nodded heavily. If you want to know, call me husband. Ning Tian's eyes were smiling. Husband? The Queen Mother of the West blushed. Although Ning Tian had already explained the meaning of wife and husband to the two women, she was a little shy to call him that. After all, in her heart, Luo Wuqing was always the first. She was the legal wife. But the Queen Mother of the West clenched her silver teeth and hesitated. I really don't know what's going on in your little head. Ning Tian rubbed the Queen Mother of the West's hair with a gentle face. He whispered in her ear, You are all my wives. Wuqing is the first wife, and you are naturally the second wife. They are all my beloved ones. Hearing this, the Queen Mother of the West fell silent. Her soft heart seemed to be touched. She nodded slightly and let out a soft voice. Husband. Although it was soft, it was enough to ignite the strongest flame in her heart. I'll tell you what Ning Buksu is. Ning Tian lowered his head slightly and looked at the Queen Mother of the West, whose beautiful face was red like a blooming flower. He lowered his head slightly. Their lips met. Woo woo! The Queen Mother of the West widened her beautiful eyes. Soon, her beautiful eyes were like water, sinking into it. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed, and Aihangi and the others still could not find Ning Tian. It was as if he had mysteriously disappeared. Helpless. And Aihangi could only leave some information on the spot and find another inn. This inn happened to be the Heaven and Earth Inn. Heaven and Earth Inn. Hey, why do you think a person suddenly disappeared? Yuqin drank a mouthful of wine with a dumbfounded expression. At the side, the few people from the ethereal sect did not speak. Tian Xiang lowered her head, feeling a little nervous. If the patriarch disappeared without a word, what should her clan do? Awoo. The flame-sealing Lion King sat on a stool and also drank wine. The diners next to him were dumbfounded. Lion King Shabi, do you also think that the patriarch was taken away by the witch in the void? Yuqin and the flame-sealing Lion King had their arms around each other's shoulders as they drank wine. I heard that there is some void witch. She specially captures handsome people. The patriarch is so handsome. He must have been taken away by the void witch. Burp. As she spoke, she hiccuped. Roar. The flame-sealing Lion King kept howling. Lion language, this damn master. He went behind Master Lion King's back to pick up girls and didn't bring Master Lion King along. How can this be? Looking at the woman and lion drinking wine, Aihangi and the others shook their heads helplessly. Yuqin, There is no such thing as a void witch. It's just a folk legend. Moon Spirit could not help but shake her head. Impossible. There must be. There must be. Eugene muttered and took another sip of wine. Oh, what is it? At this moment, a hearty laugh sounded from the side. Chapter 372. Ancestral Master? Hearing the familiar voice, Hongi and the others were delighted. They immediately turned around to look. They saw the void in the inn fluctuated. Then, two figures stepped out of the void. That handsome young man was dressed in black, and beside him was a peerless beauty. She was dressed in a purple dress, outlining her graceful figure. From afar, these two people were simply a match made in heaven. It's the ancestral master. It's Ning Buxu? Who's beside him? She's so beautiful. I've never seen such a beautiful woman in my life. They're a match made in heaven. Are you still looking? If you keep looking, don't you want your dog eyes anymore? That's Ning Buxu's woman. How dare you look at her? Are you tired of living? You're right. F***CK. Forget it. I'm blind. Soon, the diners in the heaven and earth inn were discussing and exclaiming how compatible the two were. She's so beautiful. And Hongi and Tian Xiang looked at the Queen Mother of the West beside Ning Tian. They felt ashamed of their inferiority. This woman was so beautiful that even they couldn't compare to her. Wow, it's the Void Enchantress. Senior sister, that's not a rumor. It's the truth. Moon Spirit smiled bitterly and shook her head slightly. She wasn't drunk. She knew who the woman beside Ning Tian was. She was the Jade Lake Sacred Master, the Ancestral Master's concubine. Ancestral Master? Where have you been? Who is this? Hongi and the others looked over and asked curiously. Did the Ancestral Master disappear for a while and bring back a beautiful woman? Damn, that's amazing. Seeing the Queen Mother of the West and the Flame Lion King, he became obedient. Ahem. The two matriarchs still needed to be wary. Shabai understood that the ancestor was very strong, but his two wives were each stronger than the other. Moreover, they were ridiculously strong. He absolutely couldn't let the two mistresses misunderstand that he, the Sealing Flame Lion King, was bringing the ancestor to pick up girls. Otherwise, it could be on the dining table soon. What's wrong, Shabby Lion King? Let's continue drinking. Burp. Eugene was in a daze. She took a sip of wine and placed her hand on the Lion King's furry shoulder, saying, "Didn't you just say that you were going to take the patriarch to pick up girls?" Woo! Instantly, the Sealing Flame Lion King felt a cold gaze land on it. It howled, turned into a small lion, and curled up in Eugene's arms. It's over. I, Master Lion, am finished. Oh, by the side. Hearing their words, Ning Tian smiled and said softly, I just went to the void to fight. As for this one, she's one of my two wives. Fight in the void? And Hongi and the others were stunned for a moment, but soon heard the second half of the patriarch's words. All of them had a strange expression as they looked at the Queen Mother of the West, not knowing what to say. The few of you must be the patriarch's friends. He mentioned it a little. The Queen Mother of the West said softly with a smile on her face. She still addressed him as the patriarch. Perhaps it was hard to adapt for a while. The word husband could only be said when the two of them were alone. Seeing the serious look on the Queen Mother of the West's face, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. The corners of his mouth rose slightly as he looked at the Queen Mother of the West with interest. This was the alarm of the main wife? For some reason, Hongi and the other girls didn't know what to say. They were all speechless and felt a little awkward. Especially Tian Xiang. There was always a feeling of being caught in the act. Seeing the strange expressions of the girls, the Queen Mother of the West raised her eyebrows and a smile appeared on her face. She seemed to understand a lot. Then, she quietly approached Ning Tian, and the corners of her mouth curled up into a smile. Using a voice that only the two of them could hear, she murmured, Good job, hubby. It seems that without me and Wuqing, you've been living quite comfortably. No way. Heaven and earth can be my witness. I didn't even touch them. Your husband is a decent man. Ning Tian quickly responded. It wasn't that he was afraid of his wife. The main thing was that he didn't eat them. He couldn't just say that he didn't eat them. Haha, what a decent man. The Queen Mother of the West smiled and glanced at Ning Tian with her seductive eyes. Looking at the intimate appearance of the two, many wolf howls came from the heaven and earth in. Am I here to eat or to eat dog food? Moreover, the most infuriating thing was that Ning Buxu had a wife. This wife was so beautiful. The other one must be not bad. She might even be prettier. For a moment, all the diners had tears in their eyes as they ate silently. They could hear the sound of their hearts breaking. Damn, infuriating. The more the diners thought about it, the angrier they became. They couldn't wait to eat their plates. Looking at the intimate appearance of the two, and Hongi and the others felt that they couldn't leave or stay. Right at this moment, the Queen Mother of the West's eyes fell on Tianxiang. Suddenly, she walked over, stretched out her hand, and gently lifted Tianxiang's face. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian felt a pang of guilt. Could it be that this mistress had discovered something? However, he didn't do anything. Saint Lord? At this moment, Hongi frowned and looked at the Queen Mother of the West. At this moment, after Moon Spirit's explanation, she also understood the origin and identity of the Queen Mother of the West. Seeing the Queen Mother lift Moon Spirit's pretty face, she immediately stood up. Even if she was the wife of the ancestral master, Tianxiang was still her disciple. Tianxiang didn't dare to move, but she was a little confused. She vaguely felt that the woman in front of her had a familiar aura. Don't be nervous. The Queen Mother of the West chuckled. Under everyone's puzzled gaze, she waved her hand gently. A terrifying spiritual energy barrier enveloped them. Damn! A Nine Tribulations great emperor. Even a demigod? It was just a wisp of aura. Elder Tianfeng was scared out of his wits. Immediately, he looked at Ning Tian with admiration and secretly gave him a thumbs up. As expected of the ancestral master, even his wife is so powerful. Awesome, ancestral master. This was the dream of all men. The absolute seductive Fox clan. I haven't seen them for a long time, but I seem to have sensed them in Divine Land City. At this moment, the Queen Mother of the West slowly spoke. Her words shocked everyone. How did she know? Hongi's beautiful eyes were a little nervous. Her pair of beautiful eyes fell on the Queen Mother of the West. The Queen Mother of the West. She wouldn't attack Tianxiang, right? Hearing his little wife's words, Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have thought of something. It seems that my little wife has the absolute seductive fox demon physique. Could it be that the two are related? Immediately, he touched the back of the Queen Mother of the West. Ah! Caught off guard, the Queen Mother of the West subconsciously cried out. She quickly covered her red lips. Her pretty face was crimson red. She glared at Ning Tian and pouted. Ancestral Master, what are you doing? Chapter 373. The Queen Mother of the West glared at Ning Tian and blushed. This guy, he actually touched her buttocks? Although she didn't mind, she was still a little shy in front of so many people. He wanted to touch her. Then let's go back to the room and slowly touch her. Oh, I just wanted to see if you have a fox tail. Ning Tian silently retracted his hands. Although they were very soft, he still maintained a casual look. Foxtail? Hongi and the others were stunned. I am not from the charming Sky Fox clan. The Queen Mother rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. What was this ancestral master thinking all day long? Although she vaguely guessed that Ning Tian knew about her physique, it was a pity that she was not from the charming Sky Fox clan. Sigh, that's a pity. Ning Tian pursed his lips. If his little wife was from the charming Sky Fox clan, then hugging a beast-eared girl to sleep at night, that furry feeling, hiss, he did not dare to think about it. If he continued to think about it, he might have a nosebleed. Humph, it seems that you are quite regretful. The Queen Mother glanced at Ning Tian and snorted. Although I am not from the charming Sky Fox clan, there is a part of the nine-tailed Sky Fox clan's bloodline in my body. Theoretically, if the bloodline is pure enough, the scene in your heart may appear. At this point, the Queen Mother's lips curved into a meaningful smile and winked at Ning Tian. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, he wiped the saliva at the corner of his mouth as if nothing had happened. He coughed dryly and spread out his hands innocently. What I am thinking? I am not thinking about anything. Hee, is that so? Shi Wangmu had a smile in her eyes. She saw through him with one glance. Humph. This guy, the perverted thoughts in his head were almost engraved on his face. However, I like it. That, Lord Saint. At this moment, Tian Xiang clenched her jade-like hands and looked at the Queen Mother of the West with her beautiful eyes. You said that you have the blood of the nine-tailed fox demon in your body? Is this real? Haha, of course. The corners of the Queen Mother's mouth lifted slightly, and then she slowly raised her hand and lightly tapped Tian Xiang's smooth forehead. Boom. Instantly, Tian Xiang's eyes lost their luster. When she looked at Shi Wangmu, her expression changed. Shock appeared in her eyes. Her blood surged, and a might that came from the depths of her bloodline pressed down on her body. It was as if, behind the Queen Mother of the West, there seemed to be the shadow of a nine-tailed celestial fox. It's actually, really a nine-tailed celestial fox. Very soon, Tian Xiang's eyes regained their luster, and she covered her red lips in disbelief. What is going on? She was in disbelief. Shi Wangmu smiled and did not say anything. She only looked at Tian Xiang and said, Come, let me see. A fox has 9 tails. How many tails have you cultivated? Tian Xiang frowned slightly and looked at the diners around her, a little vigilant. If the demon race were to appear in this human city, it would be a very dangerous and frightening matter. There was only one kind of demon clan that could stay in a human city. The demon clan slaves. For example, the cat demon maids were slaves for the humans to play with. Don't worry. I have just set up a barrier. No one can hear or see our conversation. Shi Wangmu waved her hand casually and chuckled. Moreover, even if someone finds out that you are a demon clan, I can guarantee your safety. Although there was a smile in her words, she was domineering. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian could not help but smile. After staying with Luo Wuqing for a long time, the aura of a concubine had unknowingly risen. Hearing this, Hongi and the others were secretly shocked. This might be the confidence of a 9 tribulations great emperor or even a demigod. Yes. Hearing this, Tian Xiang no longer hesitated. After nodding slightly, she was about to display her demon chi and release her demon fox body. Wait. At this moment, Shi Wangmu spoke, indicating for her to stop first. Under Tian Xiang's puzzled gaze, Shi Wangmu raised her jade-like hand. As the spiritual energy surged, she sealed the eyes of Elder Tianfeng and Lion King Shabi with spiritual energy. After doing all this, she clapped her hands. Okay, let's continue. Of all the men present, Ning Tian was the only one who could still watch. Sigh. Ning Tian sighed and hugged Shi Wangmu's soft body in his arms. You are indeed my concubine. You are so good. You even let me see your benefits. Tisk, Shi Wangmu snorted. Let me show you. Do you dare to do it? Hearing this, Ning Tian was speechless. It seemed this concubine was going to be beaten. Yes, that's right. After hearing the Queen Mother's wild words, the girls blushed, especially Tian Xiang. When she thought of that night, not only did her face turn red, it was also very hot. Okay, let's begin. Shi Wangmu looked at Tian Xiang and said, Yes. Tian Xiang nodded slightly. But this time, perhaps because not only was the ancestor present, but the ancestor's wife was also present. She did not choose to take off her clothes. Instead, she gently lifted her dress and 4 furry fox tails appeared behind her. This was not the end. A pair of twitching fox ears also appeared. It looked very cute. Senior sister Tian Xiang has become a fox girl. At the side, Yuqin's face was red. Her eyes were wide open and filled with curiosity. Moon's spirit, who was beside her, was also curious. It turned out that the eldest senior sister of the ethereal sect had such an identity. You have 4 tails after cultivating for less than 100 years. Not bad. Seeing this scene, Shi Wangmu nodded in satisfaction. Thank you, senior, for your praise. Being stared at by so many people, even the cold Tian Xiang couldn't help but blush. She hurriedly thanked the Queen Mother and changed the way she addressed her. In her opinion, Shi Wangmu must have some relationship with the Heavenly Fox clan. Foxtail he. At this moment, Yuqin, who was drunk, walked over. Seeing the 4 furry tails behind Tian Xiang, she instantly had the urge to touch them. She laughed foolishly and pounced over. The moment she touched the foxtails, Tian Xiang's entire body trembled. Her chest rippled and her face turned red. Her 4 foxtails shrunk back into her body. The fox ears on her head twitched as if they were frightened. Seeing this, Moon's spirit hurriedly dragged away the drunken Yuqin, who was yelling about touching the foxtail. Tian Xiang, what's wrong? And Hongi was puzzled. The foxtails of the Heavenly Fox clan can't be touched casually. Not only are they very sensitive, but they also have a special meaning. At the side, Shi Wangmu took a glance and slowly explained. I see. The girls were enlightened. At the side, Ning Tian also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he did not touch them carelessly. Otherwise, something would have happened. However, looking at that furry fox tail and fox ears, he felt his heart itch. Who wouldn't love such a cute girl with fox ears? At the side, Shi Wangmu glanced at Ning Tian. Then, her lips curled into a charming smile. She leaned over and whispered in his ear. Do you like foxtails? Actually, I can do that too. Hearing the words of the duo, Shi Wangmu's eyebrows shot up as she turned her gaze over. The absolute seductive Fox clan is in trouble. Ning Tian said casually. Trouble? Shi Wangmu's eyes narrowed, but she only murmured and did not say anything else. Ancestral Master, when will it be? Tian Xiang asked. About that. Ning Tian pondered for a moment and said, in a few days. You don't seem to be in a hurry. Let me settle some of my own matters first. Yes, Ancestral Master. Tian Xiang nodded. Since the Ancestral Master had agreed, she could finally breathe a sigh of relief. That's not right. Senior Sister Tian Xiang, when did you tell the Ancestral Master? Haven't you been with us all this time? At this moment, Yuling's doubtful voice came from the side. Tian Xiang could not help but feel a little confused. I told him when I had the time, she hurriedly said, with a guilty look on her face. Is that so? Yuling murmured. Seeing this scene, Shi Wangmu's lips curled into a playful smile. Her eyes wandered between Ning Tian and Tian Xiang. Then, a pair of jade-like hands quietly landed on the soft flesh on Ning Tian's waist. Dear, do you think, if Wu Qing knew about this, he would cut you? She licked her red lips with a teasing look. Ahem. Ning Tian coughed dryly, then quietly moved the pair of jade-like hands away from his waist. He said seriously, I believe that my little wife will not say anything, right? Then I don't know. It depends on your performance. Shi Wangmu chuckled. Her eyes were full of mischief, and she emphasized the word performance. After that, she waved her jade-like hand, and the spiritual barrier around them dissipated. The Lion King and Elder Tianfeng also regained their vision. Awoo, awoo, awoo. Finally, they regained their vision. The Lion King subconsciously howled and complained. Damn it, even the master had the privilege to see it. Why didn't Master Lion have it? This was unfair. Just as it was howling and complaining, it suddenly heard the Queen Mother of the West say intentionally or unintentionally, why don't we have an extra meal tonight? Braised lion's head? As soon as these words came out, the Lion King was terrified. It wanted to turn into a small one and hide in Yuqin's arms, but it found that Yuqin had already fainted. It could only howl and pretend to be unconscious. If he couldn't decide, he would pretend to be dead. Piffed. Seeing this scene, the girls couldn't help but smile. It was simply a beautiful scene. Next, once the girls started talking, they couldn't stop. At the side, Ning Tian could only watch the girls discuss. But soon, he couldn't help it. Shi Wangmu, this woman, while talking to an Ihongi and the others, actually provoked him from time to time. Who could tolerate this? After all, he was still curious about some things about the Queen Mother of the West. Immediately after, under the shocked gazes of the girls, Ning Tian grabbed the Queen Mother of the West and led her to the second floor of the Heaven and Earth Inn. "What are you doing?" the Queen Mother of the West exclaimed. "Nothing. I'm just discussing some questions," Ning Tian said with a straight face. Hearing this, the Queen Mother of the West rolled her eyes and almost believed him. Why did I just wake up? Ancestral Master and the others are leaving? At this time, Yuqin opened her eyes in a daze and looked at the backs of Ning Tian and the Queen Mother of the West. She couldn't help but feel puzzled. "Senior sister, what are they going to do?" She looked at Moon Spirit in confusion. "Nothing. Children shouldn't ask." Moon Spirit blushed and said casually, I'm not a child." "Carrot?" Yuqin protested and fell down again. Seeing this, an Ihongi and the others shook their heads helplessly. This girl, she couldn't drink the spiritual wine, but she insisted on drinking it. They couldn't stop her. At the corner of the second floor of the Heaven and Earth Inn, Ning Tian had just pulled the Queen Mother of the West up when he bumped into an acquaintance. Fellow Taoist Ning, are you looking for me?" They saw Qin Gajiang, who claimed to be a bard, whom they met in Dongxing Kingdom's royal city that day, appeared in front of them. Or rather, the master of the heavenly secret pavilion, Qin Gajiang. Chapter 375. You're thinking too much. That's not the case. Ning Tian didn't even look at Qin Gajiang. What a joke. There was still business to be done. Who had the time to pay attention to him? Hearing this, Qin Gajiang touched his nose and smiled helplessly. "Then let's talk about it when fellow Taoist Ning is free. I'll be at the Heaven and Earth Inn for the next few days, so I'm willing to wait for fellow Taoist Ning." "Okay." Ning Tian nodded slightly, and then the two of them left in a hurry. Seeing this scene, Qin Gajiang was stunned on the spot. He smiled bitterly and touched his nose. "Fellow Taoist Ning really doesn't give me any face at all. Pavilion Master, this guy doesn't give you any face at all. Should we give him some strong medicine and exhaust him to death?" Wangtian Patriarch said fiercely, with a cruel smile on his face. "Haha, there's no need." Qin Gajiang smiled, played with the folding fan in his hand, and shook his head slightly. "Let's go. There are still many heavenly secrets waiting for us to measure." "Yes, Pavilion Master." The old man and the young man turned around and walked out of the Heaven and Earth Inn. "By the way, Pavilion Master, I think that Ning Buxu is only a little more handsome than you. He has 2 beautiful wives." "Pavilion Master, you've been single for so long. Do you want to find a wife?" "There's no need. Why don't I find you a cat demon maid?" "Heavens! Ahem, Pavilion Master, please calm down. I've said too much." In the room, an indescribable battle that wouldn't pass the interrogation had finally ended. The two of them hugged each other tightly. "By the way, little wife, are you hiding something from me?" Ning Tian gently hugged the Queen Mother of the West and helped her tidy up her messy hair. As she tidied her hair, she spoke casually. Hearing this, the Queen Mother of the West was silent for a moment and bit her red lips. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian chuckled and pinched her face. "Forget it. Since there's something that you can't say, it's fine not to say it. If there was something that would open some scars in the Queen Mother's heart, he would rather not know." "No." However, the Queen Mother of the West shook her head. A glint flashed in her beautiful eyes. She raised her head slightly and looked at Ning Tian. With a serious expression on her face, she said, "Fool, you are my husband. Even if you have some unspeakable troubles, if it's you, I don't mind tearing open the scar." Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned. Next, he lifted her pretty face with his hand. "Why are you still talking nonsense at this time? Just kiss her." A kiss. It was enough to contain many emotions that words could not convey. Several panting sounds could be heard in the room. Next, Ning Tian looked at Shi Wangmu and said gently, "Speak. It's fine. I'm always here." "Yes." The Queen Mother of the West nodded her head vigorously. She held Ning Tian's hand tightly with her jade-like hands. Her red lips parted slightly as she slowly said, "Hubby, the reason why I have the nine-tailed fox's blood essence in my body is because of Yao Qi. In order to have the strength to shoulder the responsibility of the entire Jade Lake. More than 100 years ago, the ancient road to godhood opened. The former sacred lord of the Jade Lake's sacred ground ignored Jade Lake and the true demon suppressed in Jade Lake. She led most of the strong people of Jade Lake away, just to fight for a qualification on the ancient road to godhood. But the ending was very simple. She succeeded. However, the Jade Lake's sacred ground was in danger because there was no strong person guarding it. I was the Yaoqi saintess at that time. I should bear the responsibility of reviving Jade Lake. So, I, who was only 7 years old, was suppressed in the blood pool. With the blood exchange technique, I sacrificed half of my human blood to forcibly replace the mortal blood in my body and obtain the nine-tailed fox's blood essence. I still can't forget that kind of pain. The strong should do things that are impossible. I was born in the Jade Lake sacred ground. No one can bear this heavy responsibility except me. For Jade Lake, I am duty-bound. Speaking of this, the Queen Mother of the West raised her head slightly. There was a trace of determination in her beautiful eyes. The corners of her mouth lifted slightly. She looked at Ning Tian with a smile, a tired smile. Hubby, I'm not a peerless genius like Heartless. I just have to bear a responsibility that I have to bear. As for the nine-tailed fox's bloodline, it has been passed down from my Jade Lake. Perhaps the charming fox clan has the answer. And after absorbing the nine-tailed fox's blood essence, I activated the charming physique. That's how the Queen Mother of the West is born. As for the former me, it's too long ago. As soon as she finished her sentence, Ning Tian frowned. The blood exchange technique. He had heard a little about it. Even the Sky Demon cult, a sect that worshipped demonic arts, was extremely wary of that technique. Extracting blood, and half of it at that, was already cruel enough in the first place. Moreover, it was mixed with the blood of the demon clan. This kind of blood was not interconnected with human blood and would even reject each other. It needed to be constantly fused in the body before it could finally settle. And every time it fused, it had to bear the pain of blood exchange. This pain was no less than pulling out tendons and bones. That meant that the 7-year-old Queen Mother of the West had already endured the pain of blood exchange tens of thousands of times. And all of this, just because the former Sacred Lord became a divine dream and the former Sacred Lord was irresponsible, she had to bear all the consequences. She had to bear a responsibility that she had to bear. Originally, Ning Tian thought that the Queen Mother of the West was just a hands-off shopkeeper. But in fact, that was not the case. He was wrong. What the Queen Mother of the West had endured and done for the Jade Lake sacred ground was far more than that. Under the Queen Mother of the West's playfulness was a responsibility. There was silence. Thousands of words were stuck in his throat. In the end, he stretched out his big hand and hugged the delicate body in his arms tightly. After a while, "Who was the former Sacred Lord to you, Master?" Ning Tian slowly spoke and looked at the Queen Mother of the West. He had just noticed that when the Queen Mother of the West mentioned the former Sacred Lord of the Jade Lake, her mood was obviously different. "She's my mother." The Queen Mother of the West's expression was a little complicated as she slowly spoke. "You, your mother?" Ning Tian was shocked. Didn't that mean that she was his mother-in-law? Yes. The Queen Mother of the West nodded slightly and sighed. Before Yao Shi, the Sacred Lord and Sacred Lady of the Jade Lake sacred ground were usually mother and daughter. But I didn't like this, so I abolished it. In that case, if you are called the Queen Mother of the West, then your mother is called the Queen Mother of the West. Ning Tian frowned slightly. The Queen Mother of the West looked at Ning Tian as if looking at a fool and shook her head helplessly. The Queen Mother of the West is the title of the Jade Lake Sacred Lord. Every Jade Lake Sacred Lord is called the Queen Mother of the West. Huh. So, it's like this? Ning Tian was stunned. Then, doesn't that mean that you have a real name? Of course. The Queen Mother of the West nodded and glanced at Ning Tian bitterly. You don't even know the name of your little wife. Scumbag. Ning Tian looked aggrieved. You didn't mention this. Then, he took a deep breath and turned the Queen Mother of the West over and hugged her from behind. Their faces were close to each other. Then, my dear little wife, what is your name? Hearing this, the Queen Mother of the West's expression was a little complicated. Her red lips opened slightly and said the name that had been dusty for 100 years. There was a trace of tremor in her voice, but it was sweet and pleasant. Su Yueyao. Chapter 376. Su Yueyao. The Queen Mother of the West's voice was as gentle as water. There was a complicated look in her eyes. Su Yueyao. Su Yueyao. Ning Tian murmured softly, but the look in his eyes became brighter and brighter. This is obviously a very good name. Why did you seal it for 100 years? He was a little puzzled. He looked at the Queen Mother of the West. Because, when I decided to become the Queen Mother of the West of the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, I had already made up my mind to give up the previous plan. I also don't want to have the same surname as that woman. Only the 3 words Queen Mother of the West can make me always remember that the Jade Lake still needs me. The Queen Mother of the West said slowly. There was a trace of tiredness in her voice, but also a trace of determination. At this moment, behind her usual mischievous and charming face, there was a completely different face. Silly woman. Seeing this, Ning Tian couldn't help but smile, and a touch of gentleness flashed in his eyes. He rubbed the Queen Mother of the West's hair with his big hand and said softly, But now, under your leadership, the Jade Lake has become very strong, hasn't it? You've worked very hard. More than anyone else. The entire Jade Lake Sacred Ground has achieved what it has today because of your efforts. I believe that everyone in the Jade Lake Sacred Ground is grateful to you. Hearing this, the Queen Mother of the West was stunned for a moment, and the tight string in her heart seemed to be touched. She looked at Ning Tian. Besides, you're my woman. You still have me behind you, don't you think? Yueyao. As Ning Tian's voice fell, he looked at the Queen Mother of the West softly. No, it was not the Queen Mother of the West now. It was Su Yueyao. She was Ning Tian's woman. Hearing that someone called her name again after 100 years, and it was from the mouth of her beloved, Su Yueyao was stunned for a moment. A different kind of emotion flashed in her beautiful eyes, and her eyes were a little wet. Yes, she carried the name of the Queen Mother of the West, but she forgot her own name. She carried the responsibility of the Jade Lake for 100 years. When the Jade Lake was at its most helpless, she stood up. She was really too tired. Silly woman. I didn't expect the Jade Lake sacred leader to cry like a child. Ning Tian teased Su Yueyao in his arms. His eyes revealed a trace of gentleness as he gently stroked her hair. Humph. Su Yueyao snorted, but her eyes were red. Anyway, she had already cried. He might as well pour out all the exhaustion he had accumulated over the past 100 years. Woo-woo. She buried her face in his broad and warm chest, releasing all her tiredness and a trace of grievance. All right. Good girl, Yueyao. Hubby is here. Woo-woo. Oh, woo. Woman, if you want to cry, just cry. Why did you bite me? Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Let's not talk about you anymore. Once I talk about you, you will bite me. Humph. 10 minutes later, rows of small teeth marks could be seen all over Ning Tian's chest. Although with the hardness of his body, this kind of situation would not appear at all, but if his little wife wanted to bite him, he could only not use his spiritual energy. It would be bad if he got hurt. Okay. Yueyao, be good. Ning Tian coaxed Su Yueyao in his arms as if he was coaxing a child. Look, hubby is not here. You just need to hide behind hubby, and hubby will naturally protect you. Tisk, in his arms. Su Yueyao raised her pretty face and rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. She pointed at his chest with her slender jade finger. You are only a 3-star divine emperor. How dare you say that you will protect me? I don't believe it. Oh, do you mean hubby is very weak? Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. Humph, of course. At this time, Su Yueyao had not yet realized the seriousness of the matter. Her red lips parted slightly and she snorted. Hubby, you are very woo-woo. However, before she could finish her words, Ning Tian lowered his head and kissed her, blocking her lips. Sui Weiyao struggled a few times, but did not resist. After a long time, don't you feel tired? Sui Weiyao's pretty face still had a trace of redness. She looked at Ning Tian very seriously. Tired? Do you think I got the title Ning Buxu for nothing? Ning Tian spread his hands disapprovingly. For a moment, Sui Weiyao was speechless. By the way, Weiyao. At this time, Ning Tian seemed to have thought of something and looked at Sui Weiyao beside him. Hubby, what's wrong? Sui Weiyao was stunned for a moment and looked at Ning Tian in confusion. You said you could also turn into a fox demon before. What do you mean? Could it be that you are now a demon? Ning Tian glanced behind Sui Weiyao, coughed dryly, and said slowly, Humph, old pervert. Indecent. Sui Weiyao felt his gaze. After spitting, she took the quilt and covered her body. She was not as energetic as Ning Tian, who was as energetic as a bull. After everything was done, after carefully protecting herself, Sui Weiyao said softly, In theory, it's possible. However, I am not a demon, although I have the essence blood of a nine-tailed fox in my body. But I'm not a demon. I'm a pure human. Then why did you say you could also grow a foxtail? Ning Tian asked curiously. He couldn't help but look behind her. The furry foxtail was so cute that he couldn't help but ask. There is a difference between humans and demons. The difference is like heaven and earth. In other words, it's impossible for a human to become a demon. Even if all the blood in the body is replaced with demon blood, it's impossible to become a real demon. Similarly, it's impossible for a demon to become a real human. But, halfway through her sentence, Sui Weiyao smiled slightly and looked at Ning Tian. But what? Ning Tian couldn't help but be curious. But, between the human clan and the demon clan, there is another body type. Although this body type is not as rare as your heavenly god body, it is still a rare body type. Sui Weiyao said softly. That body is called a half-demon body. It can be a human or a demon. Half-demon body? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but ask, how to become a half-demon body? I don't know. Maybe there are records of this in the charming Fox clan. Sui Weiyao shook her head. Then, a sly look flashed in her beautiful eyes. She looked at Ning Tian and teased, Haha, when I mentioned that it can be a human or a demon, honey, you were excited, right? She was a Nine Tribulations great emperor. She knew every change in Ning Tian. Ahem. Ning Tian coughed and blushed. He was indeed a little excited just now. After all, there was another kind of fun. Ahem. But, what's the benefit of becoming a half-demon body for you? Ning Tian stopped joking and looked at Sui Weiyao. Compared to the fun, he was more concerned about the changes that becoming a half-demon body would bring to Sui Weiyao. Notice, due to some reasons, the name of the flame-sealing Lion King, Sha Bai, will be changed to Sha Tian. Please understand. Chapter 377. Become a half-demon? Sui Weiyao frowned. After thinking for a while, she said, It will improve my physique and allow me to have both spiritual energy and demonic aura like the demons. Demonic aura? Ning Tian thought for a while and nodded. Tianqian world. Spiritual energy was the main source of energy, but there were other types of energy as well. Demons could use both spiritual energy and demonic aura, while demons could use demonic aura. As for humans, they could only use spiritual energy. If Sui Weiyao could use both spiritual energy and demonic aura at the same time, her strength would be greatly improved and reach a new height. Moreover, if I become a half-demon, I should be able to reach the demigod realm, Sui Weiyao said slowly. Demigod realm? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. Demigod realm. That meant that as long as she obtained the guide to becoming a god, she could become a god. Among the people he knew, only Luo Wuqing had reached the demigod realm. As for the empty god realm emperor, it was useless even if he reached the demigod realm. After all, he was completely empty. If his little wife could also reach the demigod realm, it would be good news. However, Ning Tian's eyes lit up. At this moment, he realized that his strength was far from enough. What he needed to do was to improve his strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, the gap between him and his 2 wives would widen. After all, his 2 wives were not to be trifled with. One was more heaven-defying than the other. If he did not catch up with them, he would be left behind when the ancient road to becoming a god opened. Thinking of this, Ning Tian's eyes became serious. It seemed that he had to hurry up and cultivate. He had to find Qingajiang. His cultivation speed was still too slow. In less than a year, he was only a 3-star divine emperor. This speed was still too slow. However, if the cultivators from the Primal Chaos Imperial Realm heard this, they would probably fly into a rage and vomit blood. Damn, Ning Buxu is acting like a human again. Sigh. Ning Tian sighed. Honey, what's wrong? Su Yueyao looked at him worriedly. I'm fine. Ning Tian waved his hand and looked at Su Yueyao. He said softly, It seems that I have to go to the charming fox clan. For the future of my little wife, I have to get my hands on this half-demon body. Oh? Su Yueyao raised her eyebrows and a smile appeared on her lips. Then she hugged the blanket and moved closer. Hubby, tell me, during a battle, do you think the fox demon form or the human form is stronger? Hearing this, Ning Tian replied without hesitation, Of course it's the fox demon transformation. Being able to use both spirit chi and demon chi at the same time. Wouldn't her combat power be even stronger? You don't even need to say that. Haha. The corner of Su Yueyao's mouth lifted slightly. She licked her red lips and let out a peal of bell-like laughter. She leaned over. No. I'm not talking about this combat power. I mean, hubby, your combat power. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and looked over. A sly look appeared on her pretty face. Huh. At this moment, Ning Tian instantly understood. Then, it was raining down. A few days later, in a small attic of the Heaven and Earth Inn. Fellow Taoist Ning, please. Qingajiang smiled and handed the brewed tea to Ning Tian, who was sitting opposite him. Ning Tian nodded slightly, then picked up the tea that Qingajiang brewed, took a sip, and savored it carefully. Fellow Taoist Ning, how is the tea? Qingajiang looked at Ning Tian with a smile on his face and asked. It's all right. Ning Tian put down the teacup, curled his lips and said casually, It's not as good as the tea made by my 2 wives. Qingajiang was stunned for a moment, then shook his head with a bitter smile. He waved the folding fan in his hand slightly and sighed. I'm afraid only fellow Taoist Ning can say that my heavenly secret tea is average. His heavenly secret tea. It was made of immortal-level tea leaves. Mortals could live for 100 years after taking a sip. The leaders of ordinary forces were not qualified to drink it even if they wanted to. So, why is the heavenly secret pavilion leader looking for me? Ning Tian looked at Qingajiang and asked with a frown. In fact, he didn't like to interact with mysterious people. He couldn't see through them, and they hid too well. He couldn't even tell if they were friends or foes. It was too tiring to deal with such people. Naturally, it's because of fellow Taoist Ning's physique. Qingajiang didn't talk nonsense. He stopped waving the folding fan in his hand, put it on the table, and looked at Ning Tian. Huh. Hearing the word physique, Ning Tian frowned. The spiritual energy in his body surged at this moment, and he immediately became vigilant. Heavenly God physique. As soon as Qingajiang's voice fell, Ning Tian's eyes instantly sharpened, and his aura locked onto the former's body. At the same time, in the void, a force also appeared and directly locked onto Qingajiang. Haha. Qingajiang's face was calm, and he chuckled. You two don't have to be so nervous. I peek into the secrets of heaven. It's easy to find out who the heavenly god physique is 10,000 years in the future. Don't worry, I have no ill intentions towards you. While talking and laughing, Qingajiang's aura didn't surge at all. Seeing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. Although he didn't let down his guard, he didn't make too many movements. He said softly to the void, Yueyao, keep an eye on this guy. If there's anything wrong, just do it. Okay. Su Yueyao's voice sounded out of nowhere. Ha ha ha, there's no need. After all, I'm just a nobody who peeks into the secrets of heaven. Chung Gujiang chuckled, picked up the heavenly secret tea, and took a sip. Then, he looked up at Ning Tian. Taoist Ning, to be honest, you and I are friends, not enemies. You're the 10th heavenly god physique I've seen in the past 1,000,000 years. Huh, the 10th? A million years? Hearing this, Ning Tian was surprised. He had heard from Sanqing that he wasn't the only one who had the heavenly god physique. There were others. Now that he heard it, it was indeed so. However, 1,000,000 years, you've seen 10 heavenly god physiques in 1,000,000 years. Why aren't you dead yet? How can you live for so long? Ning Tian frowned. Puffed. Qin Gajiang, who was tasting the heavenly secret tea, spat out a mouthful of tea when he heard this. He wiped his mouth. Taoist Ning, is there something strange about what you're focusing on? I just peeked into some secrets of heaven and made some deals with some untouchable existences. Chen Gujiang shook his head. There was a hint of complicated emotions in his eyes. That was not all. It's not necessarily a good thing to live for 1,000,000 years. Life and death are no longer in my hands, and I only have one mission. Every time a heavenly god physique appears, I have to make him stronger and guide him on the ancient road to godhood. And I have another identity besides being the master of the heavenly secret pavilion. That is, Chapter 378, Heavenly God Guide. Qin Gujiang's voice was filled with a trace of loneliness. For millions of years, he had never been invincible. All he had was life, a life for a mission. He had witnessed the brilliance of countless geniuses, but unfortunately, their brilliance would eventually be annihilated. Heavenly God Guide. Hearing this, Ning Tian murmured, Fellow Taoist Ning, you have to know that the existence of the heavenly god body is extremely heaven-defying. Every heavenly god body owner is extremely powerful. You will eventually have to fight. Chen Gujiang looked at Ning Tian seriously. Fight? With the heavenly god body? Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned. Su Yueyao, who was hiding in the void, was a lot more nervous. Every heavenly god body owner was extraordinary. You will definitely fight. There can be many heavenly god bodies, but only one person can have the final qualification. Although the heavenly god body is strong, it is ruthless. Chen Gujiang shook his head. However, fellow Taoist Ning, don't worry. The time is not right. The battle between heavenly gods can only be in the god realm. The final qualification? What is it? Ning Tian was not afraid of anything. His eyes were still very calm, but he frowned slightly at Qin Gujiang. Qin Gujiang just chuckled a few times and did not answer. This was also the reason why Ning Tian was very unhappy to deal with these people. They had no beginning and no end, leaving nothing but mystery. Hubby, do you want to beat him up and force him to say it? In the void, Su Yueyao's voice sounded. Hearing this, Ning Tian pondered for a moment. His little wife's words seemed to make sense. Should he really beat him up? Cough. Fellow Taoist Ning and fellow Taoist Su, your idea is a bit dangerous. Even if you beat me up, I can only say one thing. Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. On the side, Qin Gujiang coughed and said, You, eavesdropping? Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and his gaze fell on Qin Gujiang. Qin Gujiang was speechless. He shook his folding fan and helplessly shook his head. Fellow Taoist Ning, next time you say you want to beat me up, please don't say it in front of me. Su Yueyao, Ning Tian.
Cough, cough.
So, why did the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's master seek me out? Ning Tian looked at Qin Gujiang. Naturally, it is to fulfill my mission as the Heavenly God's guide. Qin Gujiang chuckled. Then his eyes flashed with a hint of awe. In a month, a pseudo-divine tool will be born in the Black Earth Dead Mountain. When the time comes, all of the major powers will be on the move. Perhaps even the eternal demon realm and the endless devil abyss will send people over. Their goal is the other half of the divine artifact, the Death Bell. Demigod artifact, Death Bell? Ning Tian frowned. As his strength increased, he gradually understood that there were semi-divine artifacts and divine artifacts above the immortal artifacts. However, Was there a need to mobilize so many forces just for a lesser relic? Even the other two clans of the firmament territory were alarmed. Fellow Taoist Ning, what really attracted them is not the semi-divine artifact. Chun Gaijiang chuckled. As a heavenly god body, you should understand the rules of heaven and earth better, right? Hearing this, Ning Tian nodded slightly. The only rule of heaven and earth he could master was the divine thunder. Annihilation with one palm was like thousands of thunder tribulations. Rules of heaven and earth, Ning Tian murmured. Suddenly, he seemed to understand something. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Qin Gaijiang. Could it be that the semi-divine tool contains the rules of heaven and earth? Only the rules of heaven and earth could move these experts. Exactly. Chun Gaijiang smiled. And the rules of heaven and earth contained in the death bell are death. Death rules? Hiss. Hearing Chun Gaijiang's words, Ning Tian and Sui Weiao could not help but gasp. If the rules of heaven and earth were the most powerful, then death must be the first to bear the brunt. Controlling life and death. If I want you to die more, you will die more. This was simply invincible. I see. No wonder so many forces want to take it for themselves. The surprise in Ning Tian's eyes gradually receded, and a flash of light flashed in his eyes. It seemed that he must obtain this death bell. Ordinary rules would have a significant effect under the blessing of the heavenly god physique. Even if he could not directly control life and death, it was not impossible when he was strong enough. How about it? Does fellow Taoist Ning have any plans? The corners of Chen Gujiang's mouth curled up in a smile as he looked at Ning Tian. Ning Tian nodded. If he did not want good things, would he still be a founder? After all, he just felt that the death bell was fated to be with him. Then that's it. In addition, I have come to a conclusion after 1,000,000 years of observation. Among the 10 heavenly god physiques, I am more optimistic about Taoist Ning, haha. Qin Gaijiang laughed and then turned to leave. Wait, Ning Tian stopped him. So, you still have the same words? Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed?
Yes.
There is a saying that heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. When Taoist Ning's fate arrives, you will naturally know everything. For example, Ning Tian frowned. Haha, heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. Next, we will wait for Taoist Ning to explore by himself. Ha ha ha. However, this damn fortune teller waved his folding fan, unwilling to say another word. Damn it. As expected, he is still curious. Little wife, go. This damn fortune teller. If we can't beat him to death, let's beat him up first. All right. The power of the husband and wife together was extraordinary. TSK. Aya. Taoist Ning, let's talk nicely. Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. F***CK. This damn fortune teller. Little wife, beat him up. Aya. Taoist, it doesn't matter if you beat me up, but don't hurt my face. After a while. Phew, this guy still managed to escape. Ning Tian shook his head. In the end, he did not ask anything, but he did not really expect to find out. He just wanted to beat him up first. Yueyao, let's go. It's time to tell an Hongi and Tian Xiang about our whereabouts. Ning Tian held Su Yueyao's hand, and the two walked out of the attic. Soon, they saw an Hongi and the others on the first floor of the Heaven and Earth Inn. Ancestral Master and Sacred Master, where have you been these days? Hongi looked over and could not help but be surprised. She thought that the two of them had disappeared in the past few days. It's nothing. I'm just consolidating our relationship as husband and wife, Ning Tian said casually, looking at the other women. Huh, where's that lion? Where is the fiery lion king? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Oh, the fiery lion said that it seemed to have comprehended something and felt the call of something, and then ran to the top floor of the Heaven and Earth Inn. Yuqin muttered and said, Comprehended? Felt the call of something? Ning Tian frowned. But at this moment, the entire Heaven and Earth Inn suddenly began to shake. Chapter 379. Boom. In an instant, the entire Heaven and Earth Tavern began to shake. It was as if it could collapse at any time. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, many cultivators had already run out. Look! Look at the sky. What's that? There's a word in the sky? Is that a word? Why is it so complicated? Why can't I understand it? Outside the heaven and earth inn, many cultivators exclaimed. In the heaven and earth inn, several people were confused. Hubby, this can't be caused by you, can it? Are you going to demolish it again? Sensing the commotion in the heaven and earth inn, Sui Weiyao looked at Ning Tian with a sly look in her beautiful eyes. Swoosh! Almost at the same time, and Ai Hongyi and the other girls looked over. Their eyes were filled with suspicion as they looked at Ning Tian. Me? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Looking at the girl's suspicious eyes, he couldn't help but touch his nose. Why are you suspecting me? I didn't do anything. Do I look like someone who would demolish a house? You don't look like someone who would do that. The girls didn't hesitate at all and looked at him with a trace of resentment in their eyes. They dared to ask, which of the girls present hadn't been demolished by Ning Tian before? Su Yueyao's Jade Lake, Yueling's Divine Land City, and Inai Hongyi's Ethereal Immortal Mountain. Ahem. It's really not me this time. Ning Tian scratched his head and coughed dryly. Boom. At this moment, the whole ground began to crack and the huge heaven and earth inn began to collapse. Boom. Damn. My heaven and earth inn. The owner of the heaven and earth inn rushed out and tried to use his spiritual energy to resist. However, he couldn't stop the collapse of the inn with his strength of a one-star divine emperor. No, let's retreat. This place is going to collapse. Ning Tian frowned slightly. Then, he moved and stepped into the void. Su Yueyao and Inai Hongyi quickly led the others into the void and followed him. Boom. When they appeared outside the heaven and earth inn, they saw that the entire inn had collapsed in an instant. Rumble. In an instant, the ruins collapsed and dust flew everywhere. Where is the ceiling flame Lion King? Looking at the pile of dust, Ning Tian frowned slightly. That stupid lion couldn't have been smashed, right? Hubby, look at the sky. That looks like a word? At this moment, Sui Weiyao exclaimed in surprise. Words? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. At the same time, everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. As expected, in the sky, the golden words flickered one after another. The words were twisted and crooked, but everyone found them somewhat familiar. That's Brother Lion's lion-shaped words. Elder Tianfeng squinted his eyes and looked at it seriously. Instantly, a strange expression appeared on his face. That's the word, split? Dismantle? Everyone's heart trembled, and their expressions became somewhat strange. Could it be that the baleful lion has successfully comprehended the split formula? Yuqin's eyes widened as if she had thought of something. Split formula. Hearing this, Inai Hongyi and the others could not help but twitch the corners of their mouths. Could this demonic beast really study it? Split formula? It was the first time Sui Weiyao had heard of the split formula. Her beautiful eyes were filled with doubt as she looked at Ning Tian in confusion. The split formula is... Ning Tian smiled helplessly and explained softly to her. He did not expect the ceiling flame Lion King to really study the so-called split formula. Moreover, from the looks of it, the split formula was quite powerful. Perhaps this stupid lion had really comprehended it? Hee. I didn't expect the split formula to be comprehended from the ancestral master's actions of tearing down the house. After listening to Ning Tian's explanation, Sui Weiyao giggled and her eyes were filled with ridicule. Ning Tian shrugged helplessly. I never tear down the house. Even if I do, I won't admit it. Boom. At this moment, in the ruins of the heaven and earth inn, a dazzling golden light shone and the sky began to change color. In the sky, the lion-shaped word demolish began to transform into a terrifying energy that continuously charged downwards, turning into a terrifying shock wave. Boom, boom. Within a radius of a few hundred meters, none of the buildings were spared. Brother Lion is unleashing the full potential of the split formula. He has learned the ancestral master's true legacy. I'm impressed, truly impressed. Seeing this, Elder Tianfeng could not help but shake his head. At the same time, he was impressed. In his heart, there was a trace of relief. Fortunately, the sealing flame Lion King comprehended it in the Chaos Emperor city and not in the ethereal sect. Otherwise, the ethereal sect would really have to move away. At this moment, in the sky, there were faint rumbles of thunder. It's the lightning tribulation. Damn! The lightning tribulation just appeared a while ago, and now it's appearing again? Should we hurry up and run? If we're accidentally injured, wouldn't that be bad? Most importantly, I heard that the flying pig Taoist ate 8 supreme-grade flying pigs with tears in his eyes during the previous lightning tribulation. Around, many cultivators in the Chaos Emperor city were attracted over. Seeing the commotion, there were many exclamations of surprise. Recently, the Chaos Emperor city had been undergoing lightning tribulations every day. Those who did not know would think that it was a collective breakthrough. The sealing flame Lion King actually caused a commotion in the lightning tribulation. Seeing this, Moon Spirit and the rest were a little surprised. This split formula's level is probably not low. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and looked at the sky with narrowed eyes. Could it be that the sealing flame Lion King was really going to create a split formula that would leave a mark in history? Was it really going to tear apart everything in the world and break the eternal sky? Roar! At this moment, in the ruins where dust was flying everywhere, a furious roar could be heard. A black shadow could be vaguely seen roaring in the dust, and following the roar, the black shadow was still expanding. In an instant, it was a full 100 meters in size. Under the illumination of the sun, the golden fur on its body flickered with a hint of blood. Is this a ferocious lion? Yuqin's beautiful eyes widened, and a trace of astonishment flashed across her eyes. It's so big. She gestured with her hands. She found it hard to imagine that a small creature that huddled in her arms every day could become a 100-meter behemoth. The impact was too great. Woo-woo. Senior sister, the sealing flame Lion King lied to my feelings. It's not a cute pet, it's a big monster. This bastard lion. Yuqin pouted and hugged Moon Spirit for comfort. Moon Spirit smiled helplessly and could only rub its head. At the side, Anai Hongyi and Elder Tianfeng were not surprised. After all, the sealing flame Lion King was a demonic beast. It was normal for it to be 100 meters in size. Roar! At this moment, the sealing flame Lion King roared excitedly. Then, its aura began to rise. Some of its golden fur began to fade and turned into a scarlet color. The Lion King pendant hanging in front of its chest also began to emit divine light at this moment. Could it be that it has evolved? Seeing this scene, Ning Tian frowned. It's slow to write. There's no other way. Because it has to match the Lion King's name change, there has to be a transition in the plot. Damn, I can only forcefully add a plot jump. Chapter 380. Evolve. Hearing Ning Tian's words, the surrounding girls were stunned. The sealed flame Lion King could evolve?
Yes.
Ning Tian only nodded slightly and did not explain further. Although the sealed flame Lion King looked quite silly, the bloodline inheritance in its body came from the ancient Lion King. It was not an ordinary beast. Roar! Roar! The Lion King's roars could be heard continuously. Many of the surrounding cultivators hurriedly covered their ears when they heard the roar. The deafening roar made them dizzy. They saw the dust from the collapsed ruins of the heaven and earth and dissipated. Everyone's gazes turned toward the source of the sound and saw the gigantic creature. Why does this beast feel a little familiar? Although it is much bigger, its aura is very similar to someone. Could this be Ning Buxu's beast? Damn! Now that you reminded me, I immediately remembered. Could this be the fiendish lion that is proficient in all kinds of Dao attainments? A beast caused a thunder tribulation, and it is so huge. I have never caused a thunder tribulation in my entire life of cultivation. At this moment, all the surrounding cultivators looked up at the sky. The thunder tribulation was surging, and they fell into silence. There was a trace of shock in their hearts. Damn it! It was fine that Ning Buksu was not human. Even his demonic beasts were beginning to lean towards humans. This Ning Buksu was ridiculous. You have shocked the surrounding cultivators. Reward: Sealed Flame Lion King's inheritance comprehension points. Begin to upgrade. Right then, the system's voice sounded in his mind. Ning Tian looked at the Sealed Flame Lion King. When the system's voice sounded, the Sealed Flame Lion King continued to roar excitedly, as if saying, I suddenly understood. I am really a genius. However, little did it know. The reason why it could be a genius was that there was a cheater who helped it. Roar, roar. The roars continued for more than an hour. Fortunately, this guy's voice was not hoarse. Wow, senior sister, the fiendish lion is changing again. Speaking of which, this golden red color feels pretty good? Yuqin's eyes widened as she curiously sized up the Sealing Flame Lion King that was constantly howling in the ruins. A little. Moon's spirit nodded slightly and looked at the Lion King with a solemn expression. From the aura of the Sealing Flame Lion King, it wasn't hard to tell that it was at least a ninth tribulation monstrous beast. It was strong enough to fight against a divine emperor of the human race. Hee hee. It's so spicy. I wonder if it's delicious. If it's delicious, I can eat it for a long time. Braised lion's head in brown sauce seems pretty good too. Hee hee. On the side, Yuqin was still muttering to herself. Seeing this, Ning Tian and the rest shook their heads helplessly. This girl really wanted to eat the Lion King. Roar. After a while, the Sealing Flame Lion King's entire body shone with a golden light. Under that golden light, there was a hint of scarlet. From afar, it looked very mysterious. Roar. The Lion King's roar shook the entire area. He saw. The Sealing Flame Lion King's eyes were red as it let out one deafening roar after another. This posture, was it about to break through again? Something's wrong. Ning Tian saw the lion's slightly swollen belly and his pupils suddenly shrank. He immediately reacted and shouted at the girls, Cover your mouth and nose. This stupid lion, when it gets excited, it farts. As his voice faded, Su Yueyao, who already knew the power of the righteous fart, quickly moved her jade-like hands and covered her mouth and nose. Fart? Hearing this, Enai Hongi and Elder Tianfeng couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Although they were somewhat puzzled, they still obediently listened to Ning Tian's words and used their spirit energy to cover their mouths and noses. Boom. When the few of them finished their actions, they saw the Sealing Flame Lion King let out an excited roar. Its belly moved slightly, and the righteous energy in its body was released. It was also at this time, along with the release of a kind of qi, its aura also rose steadily. Boom. A fart shook heaven and earth. Damn. What is this? It stinks. It's that damn fart. F***ck. Within 1,000 meters, a large number of cultivators in the Chaos Emperor city fainted. Each of them foamed at the mouth and fainted directly. When the smell dissipated, Enai Hongi and Elder Tianfeng widened their eyes and looked around with a somewhat dazed expression. All around them were cultivators who had fainted and were foaming at the mouth. Even some God Emperor realm experts weren't spared. This is the power of a fart? No. Tell me, this is a fart? Enai Hongi looked around and couldn't help but ask, Ancestral Master, they won't all be dead, right? Don't worry, they won't die. Ning Tian shook his head slightly. The Sealing Flame Lion King didn't take any spirit medicine, so the righteous fart's power is far weaker than before. These cultivators will at most be unconscious for 2 to 3 days. It's impossible for them to die. It's really a fart. It's enough to make them unconscious for 2 to 3 days. Hearing this, Enai Hongi and Elder Tianfeng couldn't help but twitch the corners of their mouths. Fortunately, the Sealing Flame Lion King didn't fart in the ethereal immortal mountain. Roar. Roar. At this time, the Sealing Flame Lion King had completed its breakthrough. Its body had expanded to a size of 300 meters. From afar, it looked like a small mountain range. It looked over at Ning Tian and roared a few times excitedly. You're saying that you've perfected the word disassembly art? Well done. Shabai. The corner of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly. However, the ceiling flame Lion King shook its head and roared a few more times. Roar, roar, roar. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and frowned slightly. The ceiling flame Lion King said that after comprehending the word disassembly art, a lot of inheritance energy from the Lion King pendant entered its body, and its real name was revealed. Sha Tian. You're saying that Sha Tian is your real name? Ning Tian looked at the ceiling flame Lion King. Roar, roar. The ceiling flame Lion King nodded heavily with bright eyes. Real name. It was a kind of inheritance passed down by demon beasts. But at the same time, as its master, Ning Tian, gave it a name, it was also a little reluctant. Therefore, it was now in a difficult position. But if it wanted the inheritance to continue, if it wanted the story to continue, it could only leave behind the two words, Sha Tian. I see. Ning Tian frowned slightly and pondered for a while. Soon, his brows relaxed and he nodded silently. All right, Sha Tian then. It's pretty good, but, speaking of which, Ning Tian paused for a moment, looked up at the ceiling flame Lion King, and said earnestly, Sha Tian, even if you're called Sha Tian now, I hope that you will always remember that the baleful aura will always exist. Your first name, I hope you won't forget it. The ceiling flame Lion King was silent for a moment. Then, its body changed and it turned into that small one again, pouncing over. Roar, roar, roar. The meaning of the roar. Ancestor, don't worry, Sha Bai's name. I will never forget it. Hey, hey. You guy, don't wipe your snot on my clothes. So, the Lion King's name was changed from Sha Bai to Sha Tian. Chapter 381. The ferocious lion pounced on Ning Tian and wiped its tears and snot on his clothes. Woo woo. Senior sister, the ferocious lion has changed its name. Woo woo and woo. Beside them, Yu Qin's face fell when she heard this. It was no longer called ferocious lion. It had lost its soul. Woo woo. Good girl. Seeing this, Moon's spirit smiled helplessly and rubbed Yu Qin's head to comfort her. The few of them smiled. Soon, the commotion caused by the fiend lion ended just like that. As for the cultivators who fainted from the fart, Ning Tian very considerately placed them together. At the very least, they wouldn't catch a cold and could gather together to keep warm. The ancestral master was really a good person. It was another inn. They were in a room. As for the flame-sealing Lion King, Ning Tian had already locked it in the Imperial Beast Gourd. After all, its exploits had spread throughout the Chaos Emperor city. All the inns were frightened by the news, and all the innkeepers refused to let the lion in. The flame-sealing Lion King had been blacklisted as a wanted criminal. Ancestral Master, you mean the Black Death Mountain? In the room, an Hangi frowned and looked at Ning Tian, who was sitting in front of her, and asked in a deep voice. Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly. This, and Hangi remained silent while Elder Tian Feng furrowed his brows. Sect Master and I, is there anything wrong with this? Ning Tian frowned and looked at an Hangi, who seemed to have something to hide. Could it be that Chen Gajiang lied to him? If that was the case, shouldn't he continue to beat up that damn fortune teller? It's not like that. Sui Weiyao shook her head and looked at Ning Tian. Honey, it's not wrong, but the Black Death Mountain is second only to the Endless Sea area in the entire firmament territory. Hearing this, Ning Tian was silent for a moment and frowned. Is that so? Ancestral Master, I've heard about the Black Earth Temple's Death Mountain as well. However, the Black Earth Death Mountain is a life-forbidden zone. Even an Emperor Realm expert might not be able to escape from it. Ancestor, I think you should understand what the life-forbidden zone represents. And Hangi frowned and looked at Ning Tian seriously. Of course I understand. Ning Tian's expression remained calm. The literal meaning of the life-forbidden zone was a forbidden zone for all life. But, even though the Black Death Mountain is dangerous and a forbidden zone for life, it can only be considered one of the weaker forbidden zones. Ning Tian slightly shook his head as he recalled Chen Gajiang's words. Although this guy was the heavenly god's guide. However, it was still best to maintain a little vigilance. His words could not be completely trusted. And I Hongyi opened her mouth, wanting to say something. However, Su Yueyao interrupted her. Sect Master and I, don't worry. Since he said he would go, he naturally has a plan. He won't go there easily. As she spoke, she glanced at Ning Tian. He never does anything without preparation. Therefore, Sect Master and I, don't worry. Just tell us the location of the Black Death Mountain. The Black Death Mountain. Although she had heard about it, she was not from the Firmament territory and did not know the specific location of the Black Death Mountain. All right. However, Ancestral Master and Holy Master, you must be careful. The Black Death Mountain is not a joke. And I Hongyi still felt a little worried and reminded them. After all, now, she had completely regarded Ning Tian and Su Yueyao as her friends. Okay, we know. So, the Black Death Mountain is at the intersection of the 3 territories of the Firmament territory. After hearing in I Hongyi's words, Ning Tian nodded slightly. However, there's still a month left. He murmured and glanced at Tian Xiang, who was sitting beside him. In this 1 month, he could first solve the problem of the charming Skyfox clan and improve his strength. Then, he would go to the Black Death Mountain. In this way, he would have the strength to compete with those forces for the Death Bell. Let's go, Yueyao. Ning Tian stretched and called his concubine. Ancestral Master, are you leaving now? Seeing this, and I Hongyi frowned slightly. She did not know why, but she did not understand. Not at all. Ning Tian smiled. There's still a month left. As he spoke, he glanced at Tian Xiang. However, I need to borrow your precious disciple first. Borrow my precious disciple? And I Hongyi was stunned and looked at Tian Xiang. The 2 girls looked at each other and instantly blushed. They looked at Ning Tian and then at Su Yueyao. At this moment, their thoughts went astray. Could it be the Jade Lake Holy Master could no longer satisfy their ancestral master? What are you thinking? Seeing the 2 girls blushing, Ning Tian knew that they must have misunderstood. He helplessly put his hand to his forehead and said, I asked Tian Xiang to come with us. We are going to the Eternal Demon Realm. Eternal Demon? Demon Realm? They were stunned. Tian Xiang reacted quickly. Her beautiful eyes flashed with excitement. She widened her eyes and asked, Ancestor, are you going to the Charming Fox clan? Yes. As for the benefits, let's wait until we reach the Charming Sky Fox clan. Ning Tian nodded slightly. That's great. Tian Xiang's eyes sparkled and her face turned red. Ning Tian smiled and said, As for the difficulties of the Charming Sky Fox clan, let's talk about it on the way. Yes. Tian Xiang nodded heavily. Moon Spirit, will you continue to stay in the ethereal sect or return to the heavenly spirit realm? After talking about Tian Xiang, Ning Tian looked at Moon Spirit. At first, she was just a guide, but now she had stayed in the Firmament territory for a long time. Yes, I'll stay in the Firmament territory and cultivate with you, Qin. Moon Spirit thought for a moment and said, Okay. Ning Tian nodded and glanced at an I Hongyi. Then, Sect Master and I'll see you again. Yes, Ancestral Master, I'll see you again. And I Hongyi's expression was complicated as she spoke slowly. Her eyes revealed a trace of reluctance. After all, the mysterious sky world was so big. Who knew if this would be the last time they parted? The 3 of them left. Sect Master, don't worry. We'll definitely see the Ancestral Master again. Moon Spirit looked at an I Hongyi. Yes, perhaps Chaos Emperor City. At the center of the city, a pillar that reached the heavens stood tall. The Chaos Emperor realm was very far from the Eternal Demon realm. Even if Ning Tian had a void ship, he still had to use the transmission pillar. Otherwise, he would not be able to get there even if he used it for a month. There were already quite a number of cultivators around the towering transmission pillar. This must be the most advanced transmission pillar in the Chaos Emperor realm. A ticket costs 10 billion spirit coins. TSK. Let's go, Ning Tian said to the 2 girls. Fortunately, he didn't lack money. Back when he had destroyed the Righteous Tao Alliance, the wealth he had plundered was far more than this. At this moment, A familiar figure walked over. Author's words, "I'm not in the right state today. I feel a little uncomfortable writing. Sorry, try to adjust." Chapter 382. Fellow Taoist Ning, we meet again. A dignified voice sounded. Hearing this, Ning Tian turned his head to look. He saw Di Wuji and a large group of people from the Wuji dynasty walking over. Seeing this scene, the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. He seemed to have thought of something, and he quietly put down his hand that was about to pay for the tickets in his storage ring. Then, under Tian Xiang's puzzled gaze, Ning Tian and Su Yueao quietly discussed something. After a while, the two of them separated, and the corners of their mouths lifted into a smile. Tian Xiang was confused. What were the ancestral master and the sacred leader up to? At this moment, Di Wuji and the group of people from the Wuji dynasty walked over. Fellow Taoist Ning, long time no see. Di Wuji said, "Emperor, what's the matter?" Ning Tian raised his eyebrows, and his tone was indifferent. It was as if the person in front of him was not the strongest emperor of the Wuji dynasty, but just an ordinary person. Seeing this scene, the group of people from the Wuji dynasty was very unhappy. Did the emperor not care about his reputation when he spoke like this? However, even if they were unhappy, they could only hold it in. There are some things. Di Wuji nodded slightly. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Su Yueao beside Ning Tian. In an instant, he was stunned. Although there were 3,000 beauties in the harem, he had never seen such a beautiful woman. However, in less than a second, he looked away. A woman who could be so close to Ning Buxu must have a special relationship. It would be bad if he looked at her a few more times and angered Ning Buxu. Fellow Taoist Ning, I want to ask, how is your body recuperating? Can we fight? Di Wuji's gaze fell on Ning Tian as he asked slowly. The battle intent in his eyes did not weaken at all. Sensing Ning Tian in front of him, who was completely undetectable, the battle intent in his heart became even more eager. Hearing Di Wuji's words, Ning Tian opened his mouth, but before he could say anything, suddenly, Su Yueao stepped forward and stood in front of him. She raised her eyes slightly and said in a cold voice, "I'm sorry, but my husband's injuries haven't fully recovered yet. If this emperor wants to fight, I can fight on his behalf." In front of outsiders, she did not address Ning Tian as her husband. Instead, she addressed him as her husband, which everyone understood. "Husband, this is fellow Taoist Ning's wife." Di Wuji was shocked when he heard that. Upon seeing Di Wuji's shocked reaction, Ning Tian instantly had the urge to punch him. "I'm so handsome. Was it strange to have such a beautiful wife? Why are you so shocked?" This Di Wuji was ridiculous. You have shocked Di Wuji. Reward, double star experience card. Introduction. It's not suitable for children. Cough cough. This system shouldn't introduce too much, so you understand. At this moment, in his mind, as soon as the shock appeared, the system's voice sounded in time. This is just. The reward this time seemed to be a little different from the previous ones. There was a sense of mystery to it. Hearing the system's voice, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. Then, his expression became a little strange as he said to himself, "System, there's something wrong with your reward. It's a little too human." "So, do you like it, host?" Cough cough. "I suggest you do it a few more times." Ning Tian coughed dryly and then looked at Di Wuji. His expression returned to indifference as he looked at Di Wuji. "Why, Emperor, are you surprised that I have a wife who's as beautiful as a fairy?" "Ha ha ha, of course not." Di Wuji chuckled. "Since fellow Taoist Ning's injuries haven't healed, then forget it. I can't fight with a woman." He waved his dragon robe and chuckled. "Oh, could it be that you look down on women?" Su Yueao raised her eyebrows. "Of course not." Before Di Wuji could finish his sentence, a powerful aura emerged from Su Yueao's body. Instantly, the entire Chaos Imperial City's teleportation pillar square was attracted to her. That aura was extremely powerful. She had completely surpassed a Nine Tribulations Great Emperor and stood below a demigod. Nine Tribulations Great Emperor. half-stepped to demigod. Diwuji frowned as a hint of seriousness flashed across his eyes. The aura of this beautiful woman in front of him had reached such a level. She was only a little weaker than him. Even Ning Buksu's wife was so powerful? Hiss! Diwuji sucked in a breath of cold air. Even if he had 3,000 beauties in his harem, his most powerful wife was only a first tribulation great emperor. However, she was already the most powerful woman in the Wuji divine dynasty. Yueyao. Just as Diwuji was in shock, he suddenly heard Ning Tian's deep voice. The emperor is looking for me, not you. Don't tell me you don't respect your husband? As soon as he said that, Su Yueyao's aura suddenly weakened, and she became like a helpless little bird. Yes, husband. Yueyao wouldn't dare. Damn. Many cultivators in the surroundings opened their eyes wide when they saw this scene, and they looked at Ning Tian with admiration. This family status was simply a role model for their generation. Even Diwuji frowned slightly. I'm sorry. My silly wife always likes to say silly things. I've embarrassed myself in front of the emperor. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly as he looked at Diwuji. Although he said that he was sorry, he did not look embarrassed at all. So, our battle. Ning Tian continued, but before he could finish, Diwuji interrupted him. Forget it. Since fellow Taoist Ning's injuries have not healed, then forget it. Diwuji waved his hand slightly, then took out a storage ring and handed it to Ning Tian. There are some immortal herbs in here. Fellow Taoist Ning, if you refine them into medicine and eat them, they might help you recover. As for our battle, we'll talk about it next time. After saying that, he shook his head slightly and left with the group of people from the Wuji dynasty. However, what he did not see was that as soon as he left, Ning Tian and Su Yueyao looked at each other and smiled. Hubby, how was my acting? It was all right. It's not half as good as your hubby's. Ancestral master. Were you guys acting just now? Hearing this, Tian Xiang was confused and could not help but be puzzled. Yes. Look, didn't we earn back the 30 billion spirit coins from the entrance ticket? The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted, and he proudly waved the storage ring in his hand. The immortal herbs that Diwuji gave were not low-grade. This little bit of money was far more than 30 billion spirit coins. Let our Queen Mother of the West, Su Yueyao, put on a strong show. Not only could she earn back the ticket price, but she could also make Diwuji give up on fighting. She could also shock him. Why not? The most important thing was Diwuji did not succeed the first time. As time passed, he would realize that fellow Taoist Ning was getting stronger and stronger. If Ning Tian really agreed to fight with him, he would have to wait until Ning Tian agreed to fight him. That was an instant kill. Careful planning. This was the ancestral master. So that's how it is. Tian Xiang seemed to understand something. All right, let's go. I don't feel bad spending the money given by the imperial emperor. Chapter 383. Soon, the three of them spent 30 billion spirit coins to purchase the right to use 3 spatial teleportation pillars. In front of the teleportation pillar, when the entire teleportation pillar lit up and rumbled, there were already many cultivators standing in front of the teleportation pillar, waiting to enter. Every time the teleportation pillar opened, several waves of cultivators would enter and then head in different directions. Boom! The ancient runes in the sky lit up and flashed with golden light. Everyone, we can move now. As the heavy voice of the person who activated the teleportation pillar fell, the door of the teleportation pillar opened. A group of cultivators who wanted to go to different worlds rushed in. Let's go too, Ning Tian said. Then, he took out the palm-sized void ship from his storage ring and casually threw it into the spatial portal. In an instant, the palm-sized void ship transformed into a battleship hundreds of meters in size. Let's go. Then, the three of them moved and rushed into the void ship. Seeing this scene, a group of cultivators who could only step through the void and rely on their own strength to cross the void door shed tears of envy. Not only did Ning Buksu have such a large spatial immortal artifact, but he also had 2 beautiful women accompanying him. This simply made them envious. They were all humans. Why was there such a big difference in treatment? Soon, the huge void ship disappeared in the blink of an eye with a rumble. Only the group of cultivators who had eaten a face full of spiritual chi were left standing in place with a dumbfounded expression. What the hell? It disappeared with a whoosh? On the void ship, the demonic beast gourd in Ning Tian's hand trembled and then turned into a light shadow. The flame-sealing Lion King ran out from it. Roar. As soon as this guy came out, he didn't stay idle and ran around. Hee hee. In the void, your master lion is back. As soon as he entered the void, this fiendish lion seemed to be possessed. It was as if the flame-sealing Lion King, who wanted to be the thief king of the void, had returned. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian couldn't help but shake his head. Although the flame-sealing Lion King had changed its name to Sha Tian and thought that it might change its temperament, it still seemed to have a fiendish aura. As the saying goes, a name doesn't change one's temperament. One would get used to it. Tian Xiang, tell me the exact location of the Heavenly Fox clan. Ning Tian asked, ignoring the Lion King. She turned to look at Tian Xiang. Yes, Patriarch. Tian Xiang nodded and said, the Heavenly Fox clan is located in the 100 Demon Valley of the Eternal Demon Realm. 100 Demon Valley? Sui Weiyao frowned when she heard this. Why did the 100 Demon Valley sound so familiar? Little wife, what's wrong? Ning Tian looked at her. Nothing much. I just feel like I've seen this name in an ancient book in the Jade Lake Sacred Ground. Sui Weiyao shook her head slightly and said in a pleasant voice, however, there are so many places with the same name in this world. I can't be sure that the 100 Demon Valley recorded in this book is the 100 Demon Valley of the Eternal Demon Realm. Perhaps we'll know when the time comes. Ning Tian said. Following that, he took out the map he had bought in the Chaos Emperor City with Yuqin and Moon Spirit. That was not right. Not a map, but a domain map. Soon, he locked onto the location of the Chaos Emperor City and the 100 Demon Valley of the Eternal Demon Realm. After some calculations, he estimated that it would take about a week to reach them with the void ship. A week? Not bad. After all, the Black Death Mountain was located at the intersection of the three realms. It was not far from the Eternal Demon Realm. The remaining time was enough for him to deal with the Heavenly Fox clan. All right. After settling everything, Ning Tian clapped her hands and said to Tian Xiang, everything is set up properly. Don't worry about the void ship. It will operate on its own. There are rooms on the void ship. You can choose one and cultivate properly. Yes, Patriarch. Tian Xiang nodded. Void ship. Sui Weiyao blinked and looked at Ning Tian curiously. By the way, honey, when did you get this void ship?
Haha.
The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. Ning Tian laughed. Hey, honey, you should learn less about fortune-telling. You'll get beaten up easily. Sui Weiyao said seriously. Haha, so what? Could it be that my concubine is willing to beat me up?
Humph.
I won't beat you up, but I'll bite you. Ha ha ha, softer, softer. Seeing this, Tian Xiang and the flame-sealing Lion King silently pretended to be deaf and began to become emotionless cultivation machines. Hehe, Weiyao, let me tell you. There's also a spiritual chi hot spring on the void ship. Ning Tian said with a straight face. A spiritual chi hot spring? Sui Weiyao's eyes widened. No woman could resist the temptation of a spiritual chi hot spring. After all, it could not only speed up cultivation, but it could also enrich her bosom. Yeah, come, your husband will take you to a bath. Cough, cough. Ning Tian wrapped his arm around Sui Weiyao's slender waist, and the two of them walked into the depths of the void ship. Oh, right. I've also learned a new Tao. It's called the Tao of Ethereal. It's amazing. Weiyao, do you want to learn it? In the spiritual chi hot spring, Sui Weiyao wrapped herself in a thin veil and dived into the water. Hubby, why aren't you coming over yet? She raised her head slightly. There were droplets of water on her pretty face. Her beautiful hair was partly wet and stuck to her skin, adding a touch of temptation. So beautiful. Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He would never get tired of looking at the woman in front of him. Pfft. Hearing this, Sui Weiyao covered her mouth and chuckled. She was like a budding flower, extremely beautiful. Dummy, come over here. Her jade-like hand moved slightly as she beckoned. Hearing this, Ning Tian shuddered. Was there anything more tempting than this? But he didn't move. In his mind, he instructed the system. System, use that experience card. Using. Effect. Spiritual chi sharing, cultivation enhancement. Time. 5 days. 5 days? Ning Tian was shocked. Then, he calmed down and looked at Su Yueyao, who was soaking in the spiritual chi hot spring, before slowly getting into the water. Just to be clear, he was really just exercising. He was really just cultivating. He was just doing what a decent person should do. He was just purely cultivating. Soon layers of ripples appeared on the water surface. Time passed in the blink of an eye. 5 days later, a huge void battleship was shuttling through the void at an extremely fast speed. On the void battleship, Ning Tian and Su Yueyao walked out of the spiritual chi hot spring for the first time. Both of them were refreshed and energetic. Sure enough, young people had to exercise more to ensure their health. This point, the patriarch and his little wife had done very well. Phew, not bad. This experience card is not bad. Next time, I'll have a few more. Ning Tian stretched his back in satisfaction. In just 5 days, his cultivation speed had increased by 20 times. Moreover, his aura was very stable. It didn't belong to him cultivating seriously at all. The current him, he was already at the peak of the 3-star Divine Emperor realm. Chapter 384. Hee, looking at the radiant Su Yueyao, Ning Tian couldn't help but smile proudly. He had finally done what he had always wanted to do. This feeling, there was a sense of accomplishment. Humph. Seeing Ning Tian's smug gaze, Su Yueyao snorted. She had to admit that she looked really good now. Look at how proud you are. Sooner or later, you'll be exhausted to death. I don't believe that you're not weak. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Ning Tian laughed. It seemed that this little wife still didn't understand the meaning of his Ning Buxu title. If he was weak, he wouldn't be called Ning Buxu. However, it's a pity that your strength doesn't seem to have improved in the past 5 days. Ning Tian looked Su Yueyao up and down. Other than her radiant face and better figure, her aura didn't seem to have changed much. That's for sure. Su Yueyao spread out her hands and glanced at Ning Tian. She said helplessly, although we can use spiritual energy together and improve our cultivation together, hubby, your spiritual energy can't satisfy me at all. Okay. Ahem. Ning Tian coughed dryly. You can't have your cake and eat it too. It's enough to satisfy one. You. Hearing this, Su Yueyao was stunned for a moment. Her pretty face blushed, and she rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. She didn't refute anything. All right, let's go see how the fiend lion in Tian Xiang's cultivation is going, Ning Tian said casually as she stretched her back once more. Then, the two of them walked towards the deck of the void ship. On the deck, the Lion King was holding a pen and paper. While cultivating his Tao attainments, he was calculating the various powers of the word-splitting technique. However, at most, it could only calculate it. It still needed to practice to get the real knowledge. As for Tian Xiang, she was sitting cross-legged silently. Her fluffy foxtail was casually placed behind her. Her fox ears moved and she was instantly cute. On her delicate body, spiritual energy and demonic aura were circulating at the same time. His aura continued to grow. After all, they were in the void now. Even if she turned into a fox demon and used her demon chi to her heart's content, there would be no problem at all. After all, they were heading to the eternal demon lands. It was an area ruled by the demon clan. Tian Xiang, how's your cultivation? At this moment, a hearty laugh sounded behind him, followed by 2 sets of footsteps. Instantly, Tian Xiang's delicate body trembled, and her aura became somewhat unstable. She opened her eyes slightly, and a trace of redness remained on her charming face. Replying to Ancestral Master, my cultivation is almost done. She slowly opened her mouth, her voice trembling a little shyly. Seeing this scene, Ning Tian couldn't help but feel a little puzzled, but he didn't think too much about it. Tian Xiang, did you? make a mistake in your cultivation? Why is his aura so chaotic? Tian Xiang opened her mouth and looked at Ning Tian and Su Yueyao. Her pretty face turned even redder. She couldn't possibly tell him that for the past 5 days, she had been hearing those strange moans, right? Although Tian Xiang was a virgin, there were some things she had heard about. She carefully glanced at Su Yueyao and couldn't help but feel curious. Listening to the Holy Lord's voice, was it painful? Or was it happy? Or was it painful and happy? This was really a whole 5 days without stopping. Seeing Tian Xiang's reaction, the two finally understood something and couldn't help but cough dryly. Su Yueyao's pretty face reddened, and she gently pinched Ning Tian. It's all this guy's fault. He never stopped. This is too much. This is too much. Ha ha ha. Ning Tian laughed dryly, then looked at Tian Xiang and decisively changed the topic. By the way, Tian Xiang, what's the problem with your charming fox clan? At the mention of this, Tian Xiang immediately became serious. She stood up from the ground, and her fox tail swayed behind her back. The blush on her pretty face faded, and she said seriously, "It's like this, ancestral master." Following that, Tian Xiang narrated the whole story to him. After listening, Ning Tian and Su Yueyao both frowned. You're saying that the entire Fox clan once abandoned and expelled your charming Fox clan, but now, because of the war, your clansmen are being used as tributes to the losing side? Ning Tian's expression was a little strange.
Yes.
Because we, the absolute seductive Fox clan, are the most beautiful Fox demon clan. Tian Xiang nodded slightly. She wasn't exaggerating at all. After all, she was telling the truth. Is that so? Okay, I understand. Ning Tian nodded slightly, his expression indifferent. He didn't have any thoughts about the Fox clan. His only thought was to help the charming Fox clan. It was to help his little wife become a half-demon. At the same time, he could also return the favor to that woman. He never liked owing people favors. As for other things, he couldn't be bothered. By the way, Tian Xiang. Ning Tian looked at Tian Xiang and suddenly said, "Huh." Tian Xiang was puzzled. Tian Mei is also a member of your charming Fox clan, right? Ning Tian narrowed his eyes and looked at Tian Xiang. In his mind, a woman in a red dress with a voluptuous figure and a hint of charm appeared. Divine Land City. Sky Treasure Pavilion. Tian Mei. Tian Mei? Tian Xiang was stunned and looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Ancestral Master, how do you know the leader of Tian Mei? Leader? Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. It seemed that Tian Mei's identity was a little beyond his imagination. The charming fox aura that I sensed in Divine Land City should be her. At this time, Su Yueyao also said, I see. As expected, this fate has long been predestined. Ning Tian sighed slightly. Even if he didn't help his little wife become a half-demon, he still had to help her. If Tian Mei hadn't informed them in time, even if the Tiamat cult could resist the attack of the Righteous Alliance in the end, they would have suffered heavy losses. It would be impossible for them to be like now without any losses. It was because they knew in time and were fully prepared that they were able to achieve a great victory. This point, Tian Mei's information was very important. He knew that he had to return the favor. At the very least, he knew the basic principles of life. In that case, let's speed up, Ning Tian said. Suddenly, boom, the void ship moved forward at full speed. At this moment, Eternal Demon Territory, 100 Demon Valley, Charming Fox Clan's territory. Miss, the 100 tribes are ready. Perhaps they will attack us at any time. The voice of an elder sounded in the main hall. It was Elder Tuesday of the 100 tribes. In front of Elder 2, Tian Mei, who was wearing a red dress that outlined her figure vividly, frowned slightly and a trace of seriousness flashed in her eyes. Miss, what should we do? Elder 2 frowned and bowed. Tian Mei was silent and rubbed her temples tiredly. Then, a trace of murderous intent flashed in her beautiful eyes. Since the 100 tribes are willing to be the spear to kill the Fox clan, I will destroy this spear. My clan lives for death. Chapter 385. The journey that would have taken at least 2 days could be shortened to a few hours at this speed. After all, Su Yueyao's spiritual energy was much more powerful than Ning Tian's. Roar, roar, roar. Next to them, the Lion King roared a few times. Fiend Lion, you're saying that since Yu Yao is able to control this void ship and increase its speed so quickly, why didn't you let her control this void ship earlier? Ning Tian raised her brows slightly when she heard the Fiend Lion King's roar. Roar, roar. The flame-sealing Lion King nodded heavily and gestured at the same time. If we can land earlier, I can study the power of this void ship technique earlier. Time is money. How can it be cultivated?
Hemph.
Oh, I see. Ning Tian spread his hands and said seriously, if I had used it earlier, wouldn't my 5 days of happiness, cough, cough, wouldn't my 5 days of cultivation have been wasted? Hearing this, Tian Xiang's pretty face flushed instantly. She thought of those voices again and felt a little uncomfortable. Su Yueyao rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. This guy really touched a sore spot. If she wasn't a Nine Tribulations great emperor, she might not have been able to handle it. She couldn't help but feel worried. If Ning Tian's strength increased, would she still be able to stand properly like she was now? Haha, it seems that when this guy becomes stronger, I'll have to drag Wu Qing along to deal with him. Su Yueyao murmured. Then, she rolled her eyes at Ning Tian and said snappily, Okay, honey, stop talking. Stand firm. We're leaving. As soon as she finished speaking, an even more turbulent spiritual energy burst out from Su Yueyao's delicate body. Boom. In an instant, the enormous spatial ship shook violently and erupted with an even more terrifying speed. It directly shot off into the endless void. It was extremely fast. The few of them couldn't stabilize their footing. Roar, roar, wretch. Next to them, the Lion King had already begun to spit out rainbow-colored objects. Tian Xiang also grabbed the railing to steady herself. As for Ning Tian, he looked left and right before finally choosing a soft and comfortable object that could ensure that he would not fall off the void ship. Ah, what are you doing? Su Yueyao rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. She could clearly feel that a certain bad guy had run up behind her and unceremoniously reached out his large hands to grab her slender waist. That pair of bad hands would occasionally play tricks on her. All right, old driver, drive. However, Ning Tian's face was indifferent. He didn't feel anything at all. After all, they had been married for so long. What was this small matter? You're the experienced one. Su Yueyao rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. By the way, what does old driver mean? Haha, I'm praising you for your skill in piloting the void ship and for your stability. Who would believe you? In the void, the huge warship shot out, accompanied by the sound of teasing. Eternal Demon Realm, Sky Bamboo Forest. In the bamboo forest, hundreds of beasts wandered around, and the spiritual energy was sparse. Boom. At this time, in the sky, a roar suddenly sounded. The birds and beasts in the bamboo forest were shocked. Above the sky, there was a fluctuation in the void. Following that, a warship that was hundreds of meters long suddenly rushed out from the void. Phew, finally, I can breathe normal air. Ning Tian took a deep breath, his face full of satisfaction. With a great emperor around, it was indeed different. If it was an ordinary person, they would probably need to go to the nearby teleportation pillar to come out of the void. But because of the existence of Su Yueyao in their group, they could tear the void apart with their bare hands. Humph, you're comfortable. Su Yueyao snorted. The trace of blush on her pretty face faded, and looked at Ning Tian with eyes full of resentment. This guy, along the way, he was not honest. Then what should she do? Hee, I'll reward you when I have time. Ning Tian chuckled and rubbed Su Yueyao's head before letting go of her fragrant body. He looked around and frowned slightly. Is this the eternal demon realm? As expected, the density of the demonic chi far surpasses the spiritual energy. This place is indeed not suitable for human cultivators. Yes, Ancestral Master. This is the world of the demon realm, the eternal demon realm. At the side, on the deck, Tian Xiang's complexion recovered slightly. Looking at this familiar place, a trace of nostalgia flashed in her eyes. It had been a long time since she returned to the eternal demon realm. Blurg, roar. The ceiling flame Lion King was still vomiting. Yo, little lion, can you do it? If not, let's have an extra meal tonight. At the side, Sui Weiyao smiled and said, Roar? The ceiling flame Lion King was shocked. In an instant, it felt refreshed and energetic. Ancestral Master, Sacred Master, that's the Black Death Mountain. At this time, Tian Xiang pointed in a direction and said to Ning Tian and Su Yueyao, Black Death Mountain? The two were startled and frowned slightly, looking in the direction Tian Xiang pointed. It was darkness. In the darkness of nothingness, a huge mountain could be vaguely seen. It stretched endlessly into the sky, but the mountain was incomparably dark. No light could shine on it. It was as if it belonged to darkness. Even from tens of thousands of meters away, everyone could feel the horror of the darkness and the thick aura of death. Black Death Mountain. Ning Tian's eyes flashed and he nodded slightly. Okay, I remember the location. It's not far. This month is enough to settle the matter of the charming Fox clan. The Black Death Mountain was not far away. This was good news for him. At that time, he would not have to worry about not being able to catch up with the Black Death Mountain. Let's go. Ning Tian turned around. The 100 Demon Valley they were going to was in the opposite direction of the Black Death Mountain. The two nodded. The void ship adjusted its direction and rushed to the 100 Demon Valley. The demonic beasts below were all trembling because of the roar of the behemoth in the sky. These demonic beasts had never seen such a thing before. As the void ship moved forward, they were getting closer and closer to the 100 Demon Valley. Ancestral Master, the 100 Demon Valley is just as the name implies. There are hundreds of clans. At that time, when the senior of the charming Fox clan was chased out by the entire Fox clan, she happened to save them. Therefore, the charming Fox clan has a seat in the 100 Demon Valley. If that's the case, the charming Fox clan is actually the benefactor of the hundreds of clans. On the deck, Tian Xiang's lips curled into a smile. Oh, is that so? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. Wait. At this time, Su Yueyao, who was steering the void ship, frowned and a trace of seriousness flashed in her eyes. She slowly said, There's the smell of blood in front. Chapter 386. There's the smell of blood? Hearing that, Ning Tian and Tian Xiang's expressions turned serious. There is indeed. Ning Tian sensed the terrifying murderous aura and the smell of blood coming from the front. And in front, it was the 100 Demon Valley. At this moment, Tian Xiang's face was filled with nervousness. She frowned and clenched her fists, which were already sweating. Yueyao, speed up. Ning Tian looked at Su Yueyao and said in a low voice, Okay. Su Yueyao nodded. Without hesitation, the spirit energy in her body flowed into the spirit energy supply device. Suddenly, the entire void ship shook violently and shot forward at a terrifying speed. 1,000 Demon Valley. The killing was endless. The blood mist was hazy. Brothers, try not to kill. Don't kill. If there's really no other way, try to keep the corpses intact. Don't cut their little faces. Lord Ugly Wolf said that we want the corpses too. Ha ha ha. Sinister laughter rang out. Hundreds of demons looked at the members of the charming Fox clan with murderous eyes. At this moment, the members of the charming Fox clan were furious. Their bodies were undulating, and they were covered in blood. They were in a sorry state. Around them, corpses were everywhere. There were casualties among the 100 demon tribes and the charming Fox clan. Sisters, even if we die together, don't let these bastards succeed. Hearing the lewd laughter of the 100 demon tribes, and hearing that they were so disgusting that they didn't even let the corpses go, the members of the charming Fox clan felt a chill in their hearts. Their eyes were cold and murderous. Kill. Let these despicable 100 demon tribes see who said that the women of the charming Fox clan are inferior to men. The killing continued. Boom. Boom. In the sky, The terrifying spirit energy kept exploding. The two old men were locked in a fierce battle, especially after Old Man Sky Crane turned into a demon. His wing attacks gave Old Two a headache. He could only defend and wait for an opportunity. On the other side, the spirit energy moved. The three figures quickly retreated. Haha. Although the charming Fox clan leader hasn't been here for long, her strength is really impressive, especially the Seven Tails. I wonder how good it will be to touch them? Shirhu laughed wildly and looked over. TSK, TSK. On the side, Ugly Wolf licked his own hand, making a slurping sound. You are indeed the leader of the Heavenly Charm tribe. After exchanging blows with me, there is still a lingering fragrance on your hand. How delicious. Seeing this, Heavenly Charm felt a chill run down her spine. She looked at the two of them coldly and said, "Cut the crap. If you want to fight, do it quickly. I don't have the mood to accompany you to the end." As she spoke, she subconsciously looked around. Although the overall strength of the charming Fox clan was not bad, there were too many of them. As time passed, they would not be able to hold on. It was an urgent matter. He had to deal with the two guys in front of him first. But these two fellows were the same as her, 8-star god emperors. Not easy to deal with. Since the Heavenly Charms tribe leader can't wait any longer, I won't hold back. I really want to touch the Heavenly Charm matriarch's body. Ha ha ha. Ugly Wolf sneered and looked at Heavenly Charms without fear. The more he looked, the more fanatical his gaze became. His body also became hot, and his mouth and tongue became dry. Already, I can't control it. Boom. In the next moment, his body moved, and a wolf claw appeared in his hand. Demonic aura continuously gathered and rushed toward Heavenly Charms. Ha ha ha. Heavenly Charms tribe leader, I'm coming. He sneered. Seeing this, Heavenly Charms' expression became serious. The fox tail on her back shook, and her hair seemed to have exploded. She circulated her spiritual energy and demonic aura at the same time. Ugly Wolf was from the Wild Wolf clan. The explosive power of his body was extremely terrifying. In an instant, the distance between them was shortened by tens of meters. He was only 100 meters away from Heavenly Charms. His eyes were burning, but at this moment, the sky shook, and the world turned dark. It was as if something had crashed down from above. What? Ugly Wolf raised his head, and his expression changed drastically. He saw a huge battleship appear in the sky, and it came directly toward him. That giant shadow was so fast that he simply couldn't react in time. Boom, boom. In an instant, the huge battleship crashed heavily on the ground. Ugly Wolf was crushed on the ground. He did not even have time to struggle before he was crushed into a pile of flesh and blood. What? Seeing this scene, Shirhu, who had been waiting for a good show, had an extremely ugly expression. The Wild Wolf clan leader, an 8-star god emperor, Ugly Wolf, was crushed to death just like that? Are you kidding me? The sound of the battleship crashing to the ground resounded in all directions. Whether it was the experts from the 100 clans who were fighting fiercely, or Elder Tu and Elder Tianhe who were on the other side of the sky, they were all shocked by the sudden tremor. Everyone's gaze turned toward that direction. The huge battleship was completely black, and it emitted a powerful aura. An Ugly Wolf, who was crushed on the ground, was bleeding profusely and turned into a pool of blood. Gulp. What is that? This is the thing that fell from the sky and crushed Ugly Wolf clan leader to death? It can't be. Ugly Wolf clan leader is an 8-star god emperor. He can be crushed to death by this thing? Everyone's gaze was filled with shock as they looked at the unknown object that fell from the sky. No one dared to act rashly. At this moment, a burst of hearty laughter rang out. Heavenly Charm Pavilion Master, it really is you. Long time no see. Hearing the voice, everyone's gaze turned toward the huge object in unison. They saw a young man sitting on the deck, chewing on an apple as he looked at them with a smile. Ancestral Master? Heavenly Charm was stunned for a moment, and a trace of astonishment flashed across her beautiful eyes. Why was the ancestral master here? Ever since she had told Luo Wuching the news that day, she had returned to the firmament territory with Elder Tuesday. During this period, she had been busy with the affairs of the heavenly Charmfox clan in the Eternal Demon territory. She had not paid attention to what had happened in the heavenly spirit territory at all. From the looks of it, the Tianma cult had actually repelled the joint attack of the Void God, Heavenly Palace, and the Righteous Alliance. Haha, let's catch up later. I think you don't seem to be very peaceful. Ning Tian took a few bites of the apple and looked around. The human clan. It's the despicable human clan. A bird demon's expression changed. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, a black shadow shot out and pierced through his skull. His pupils constricted, and his vitality faded away in an instant. Blood spurted out and splattered all over the ground. The surrounding demon clan members' expressions changed as they looked over. The black shadow was not a weapon at all, but the leftover apple core. Hiss! What strength! Seeing this, the surrounding demon clan members gasped, and a trace of panic filled their eyes. This human clan was not simple. Chapter 387. Fellow Taoist, you're a human. Why are you meddling in other people's business? Shihu looked at Ning Tian seriously. He realized that other than being very handsome, he could not see through this young man's aura. It was as if he had hidden everything. However, he was sure of one thing. This human youth was definitely not weak. That bird demon was a one-star god emperor realm expert, but it was still killed by this young man's apple core in an instant. Hearing Shihu's words, Ning Tian's expression turned cold. He looked at Shihu coldly and said indifferently, Are you teaching me how to do things? Hiss. In an instant, the surrounding temperature seemed to drop. Shihu swallowed the words he was about to say. He did not know what to do and felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Haha, brother Shihu, don't be afraid. I'm very kind. I've never liked to kill. Then, a crisp laugh sounded. The cold aura seemed to have dissipated. Looking at Ning Tian, who had a smile on his face, Shihu was stunned. Could it be that he had misjudged? This human youth was not that scary? In an instant, he let his guard down and fell into Ning Tian's trap. Humph! He snorted and was about to say something. Suddenly, his gaze landed on Su Yueyao on the deck. Instantly, his eyes blazed and he felt his mouth go dry. She looked like a human, but her beauty was much better than that of the charming Skyfox clan. His bestial nature was hard to resist. Suddenly, he had an idea. His mouth opened slightly. So beautiful. Puff. Before he could finish his sentence, he saw. His chest seemed to have suffered a heavy blow. It caved in, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His body contained a huge amount of power, and he was instantly sent flying. The moment he was sent flying, void displacement. A great emperor. Damn it. Sneak attack. What happened to being kind and not killing? Shihu's pupils constricted. There was a moment of panic on his face. On the deck of the void battleship, Ning Tian had already disappeared and reappeared beside him. Who allowed you to look at her? The human youth, who had just spoken kindly, was now filled with killing intent. He appeared in front of Shihu once more. Wind and thunder surged in his hand, and spiritual energy exploded as he punched out. Bang! Bang bang! In an instant, Shihu's body slammed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Dust was everywhere. Everyone was dumbfounded. Boom! At the same time, Ning Tian stepped into the air and arrived in the crater. He grabbed Shihu's head and lifted him up. He looked at Shihu coldly and said, Tell me, why are you suddenly having such perverted thoughts? Cough. Master Hu, Shihu spat out blood as he was lifted up by Ning Tian. Even though he was an 8-star great god emperor, he was powerless in front of Ning Tian. My husband may only be a 3-star great god emperor, but the spiritual energy in his body is far more than this. I really don't know. He should have had enough spiritual energy to break through a long time ago, Sui Weiyao muttered to herself on the void battleship. Looking at Ning Tian, a sweet smile appeared on her face. This guy's rage was because of her.
Trash.
Ning Tian's eyes were cold as he grabbed Shirhu's throat. The heavenly god's power surged. Lightning flashed in his hand, and Shirhu's vitality was instantly sucked out. Another great god emperor with an unstable cultivation base. How dare you have perverted thoughts about my wife? You're courting death. Hiss. He's a great emperor? Around them, the experts of the 100 races sucked in a cold breath. Their eyes widened in shock. Everyone had seen the scene of Ning Tian stepping into the void earlier. Such a young great emperor of the human race? Hiss. How terrifying. You've shocked the experts of the 100 races in the 100 Demon Valley. Demonic Path Reward. 100 Demons Blood Refinement Skill Card. A cruel technique that uses the blood of the 100 races as a guide. Strengthen your strength and strengthen your physique. Note, this is a one-time use skill card. Oh, 100 Demons Blood Refinement Skill? Hearing the system's voice in his mind, Ning Tian's lips curled into an evil smile. System, it's so rare for you to give me a demonic reward. I almost forgot that I'm the founder of the demonic path. System. Hee hee. Then, I'll use the blood of the 100 demons to strengthen my physique and soul. Ning Tian's eyes darkened as he glanced at the experts of the 100 races. Other than the old birdman in the sky, the others were just, Yueyao, I'll leave that old birdman to you. Facing those he couldn't defeat for the time being, Ning Tian expressed that he still had his wife. She could defeat them. Okay. Sui Weiyao nodded slightly. Leave that old birdman to me. Hubby, go and do what you need to do. Birdman. Elder Sky Crane gritted his teeth and glared at the two. Mere humans, what are you being arrogant for? This old man is not a birdman. This old man is from the Crane clan. Do you understand? Crane, you're the birdman. Your whole family is birdmen. Aren't you just a great emperor? Do you think this old man won't? Bang. Birdman Sky Crane. Oh no. Elder Sky Crane didn't finish his words. A terrifying emperor aura swept over. Boom. Elder Sky Crane didn't even have a single feather left as he turned into a cloud of blood mist. 9 Tribulations Great Emperor. In an instant, everyone was shocked. Looking at the smiling Su Yueyao, they couldn't help but have goosebumps. Damn it. Without saying a word, Elder Sky Crane, a 3 Tribulations Great Emperor, was gone. They were indeed husband and wife. They really looked like husband and wife. They were simply a nuclear couple. Amazing. Well, husband, the birdman is gone. After killing Elder Sky Crane with one palm, Sui Weiyao chuckled at Ning Tian. That's great. I'll reward you when I have time. But for now, Ning Tian's eyes turned cold as he looked at the hundreds of demons around him. Right now, I have to think of a way to kill these guys. But it's quite easy to deal with these little bastards. 1 second is enough. 1 second? Hearing this, the group of 100 demons laughed in anger. 1 second, you can't even move that fast. However, in just an instant, Ning Tian's figure seemed to flicker. Then, thousands of figures appeared in the sky. With a palm of wind and thunder, these little bastards instantly vomited blood and flew backward. This was the ethereal doppelganger. Although one move defeated tens of thousands of enemies. But Ning Tian didn't smash them into meat paste. He didn't forget that what he wanted was their blood essence. 100 Demons Blood Refinement. Suck. His eyes were cold as he blasted out a palm. In an instant, the 100 Demons' face changed as he vomited blood. His blood essence surged and kept flowing out. His face became paler and paler. In an instant, corpses were everywhere. The corpses of those 100 demons were all in a mummified state. Author's words. This chapter counts as an extra chapter. After all, I have explained some things before. If I don't finish writing about this battle, it would seem like I'm a hydrologist. Damn it, there's no water. Chapter 388. The surrounding demons were all turned into dried corpses. Hiss! At the sight of this, the members of the charming Sky Fox tribe in the valley widened their eyes in disbelief as they looked at Ning Tian, who was standing in the sky with thousands of figures floating in the sky. This human youth is so handsome and powerful. He is such a young great emperor. Even among the demon clan, such talent was rare. At this moment, shock, admiration, there was also a faint trace of fear. These thoughts flowed through the hearts of the charming Fox clan women. They were originally in a hopeless situation, but because of the arrival of this human youth, everything changed. It was like a dream. Phew! The charming Fox clan women widened their eyes and panted, their faces blushing. In the sky, Ning Tian waved his hand slightly, and the Ning Tian, formed by the ethereal qi around him, instantly dissipated. It turned into a wisp of ethereal qi and returned to his body. He looked at the corpses of the demons below, and a jade bottle appeared in his hand. He waved his hand again, and the blood that had been refined in the dried corpses condensed into drops of rich blood essence. They floated from the corpses below and flowed into the jade bottle in his hand. Soon, the jade bottle in his hand was full of blood. Not bad. I wonder how much the blood essence can improve me. Please don't let me down. A smile appeared on Ning Tian's face as she placed the jade bottle into her storage ring. After doing all this, he turned around and looked at the women. However, before he could speak, the system's voice rang in his mind. You have shocked the charming Fox clan. You have shocked the charming Fox clan women. Bloodline superpower reward. Bloodline superpower. Demon clan only. Absorb a type of demon clan bloodline to improve and cause bloodline suppression. When the bloodline reaches the highest level, you can obtain bloodline ability. Optional. The weak host does not want it. Everything is up to the host. Bloodline superpower? Cause bloodline suppression and reach the strongest bloodline. I can even choose bloodline ability? Interesting. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up into a smile as he silently joked in his heart. Wouldn't that make him the vampire patriarch? Shaking his head, he looked at Heavenly Charms and smiled. Heavenly Charms Pavilion Master. Long time no see. Ancestral Master. Long time no see. At this moment, Heavenly Charms was still a little dazed. Her brain was still unable to react. Ning Tian's appearance was too sudden. Most importantly, he appeared at the right time. Seeing the young man greet their clan leader as if they were close friends, the surrounding ladies of the charming Sky Fox clan were stunned. They looked at the two of them suspiciously. Could there be something fishy going on? They all knew that the Heavenly Charms clan leader had left the Firmament territory. Ancestor, why are you here? Tian Mei finally reacted. The astonishment in her beautiful eyes dissipated as she looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Patriarch, I was the one who brought Patriarch here. Before Ning Tian could speak, Tian Xiang's voice rang out. On the void ship, Su Yueyao and Tian Xiang walked over, and the flame-sealing Lion King turned back into its small form, following behind them obediently. Tian Xiang. Heavenly Charms was stunned when she saw the familiar figure. It's Sister Tian Xiang. Sister Tian Xiang is back. Seeing Tian Xiang, the ladies of the charming Sky Fox clan were pleasantly surprised. Clearly, Tian Xiang's status in the charming Sky Fox clan was quite high. What's going on? Heavenly Charms looked at them in confusion. It's like this. Tian Xiang was about to speak, but was interrupted by Ning Tian. Does Heavenly Charms Pavilion Master want to talk about something here? Ning Tian looked at Heavenly Charms and asked. Heavenly Charms was stunned and looked around. There were corpses everywhere, and the smell of blood filled the air. Grief flashed across Heavenly Charms' eyes. Then, she said to Ning Tian and the rest, Patriarch, please wait for a while. Old 2, bring Patriarch and the rest to the main hall. I'll be there in a moment. Yes, young mistress. Old 2 nodded slightly and looked at Ning Tian and the rest. His eyes were solemn. Everyone, follow me. After Old 2 brought Ning Tian and the rest to the main hall, Heavenly Charms looked at the ladies of the charming Sky Fox clan and said, Clean up the corpses around? Yes, Patriarch. The ladies of the charming Sky Fox clan nodded. Their eyes were filled with grief. Although Ning Tian came in time, they still lost many of their clan members. In the main hall, the few of them took their seats. Everyone, this is the charming tea of the charming Sky Fox clan. It's very delicious. Old Tu skillfully brewed tea for them and served it to them. Patriarch, Sacred Lord, this is the charming tea. It's very delicious. Seeing the tea, Tian Xiang could not wait to taste it. She had not returned to the charming Sky Fox clan for a long time. She missed the tea very much. After taking a sip of the tea, she widened her eyes and looked at Ning Tian and Su Yueyao. Ning Tian and Su Yueyao smiled and took a sip of the tea. It's really good. It's a good tea. Roar, roar. At the side, the ceiling flame Lion King looked on eagerly. However, when he saw Old Tu ignoring him, he could not help but roar. Old man, where's my tea? However, Old Tu ignored him. A demonic beast drinking tea? This was something he had never thought of before. Therefore, he did not treat the ceiling flame Lion King as a human. Although the ceiling flame Lion King was not a human, Old Tu saw Ning Tian and Su Yueyao put down their teacups and asked, "How is the tea?" It's a good tea. Ning Tian chuckled and then looked at Old Tuesday. He said thoughtfully, "You're from the Divine Secret Pavilion, right?" Old Tu was stunned. He looked at Ning Tian in confusion and frowned slightly. "How do you know?" "I'm indeed from the Divine Secret Pavilion, but I haven't been back for a long time. I haven't even used my Divine Secret technique." He looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Haha. Ning Tian chuckled. "It's simple. Since I beat up that damn fortune teller, I'm very familiar with his Divine Secret aura. You have the same aura as him, although yours is very faint." "Damn. Fortune teller?" Old Tu was stunned and did not understand. "Oh, it's your pavilion master, Qinggajiang." Ning Tian took another sip of tea and said casually, "What?" Old Tu was shocked. As far as he knew, the pavilion master of the Divine Secret Pavilion was a Nine Tribulations great emperor. How could he be beaten up by this young man? Could it be his strength was above the pavilion master? Hiss! Old Tu sucked in a breath of cold air. "You've shocked Old Tuesday. Cultivation reward plus 1,000. The system's voice sounded in his mind. At this moment, a fragrant wind blew in from outside the main hall. A familiar figure walked over. "Ancestral Master, Queen Mother of the West, sorry to keep you waiting. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.